And we're live. Dave, people are going to be sick of listening to you. This is what, the 10th time you've been on now at this stage?
First time on Off the Lead, but not the first time we've done a podcast together.
What was the name of the first podcast? Or what was the name of the podcast before we
What's
started?
the Fucking Story podcast?
What's the Fucking Story podcast? That was a good name.
It was, yeah.
There's lads out there, What's the Story has been taken, I think, has it?
Yeah. And they do a lot of MMA stuff and that as well. I think the first one, when we were doing it, we were saying, that's how we started off. It was like, well, what's the fucking story? We just went from there then.
That was when, Dave? Because I'm at recording the Off the Lead ones officially for 6 months.
Yeah.
So that was what? Is that October or something?
I was trying to think if Summer was born then. So she's 10 months now. And I think it was before then. So I'd say it's probably a year ago.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was just coming into the summer. So probably was around this time last year.
Yeah, no, it would have been, yeah. So about a year ago.
Yeah.
Thereabouts the day, actually.
Yeah.
So a perfect time for a recap.
Yeah. So yeah, I was like, this isn't the first time we've had these conversations, and loads of people are going to say, when are you going to do Frano's podcast? Like, and I'm really enjoying them and getting loads of out of them, and how come you're not doing them? And I said, me and Frano have these conversations all the time. Like, we just don't have them in front of mics, or we don't record them, and people are kind of trying to get more information onto, the stuff that we do and the stuff that we kind of talk about and stuff, and said, look, we'll eventually get around to it and we'll do it. Like, so finally here today, and we're both tired. We're both just exchanging baby stories there, or babies not sleeping properly stories. So we're both tired today, but I'm sure it'll come across pretty good.
We'll get through it. It's mad because I think a lot of people have the conversations that we have. Not by no means the majority, but I think there's an awful lot of people out there who are having these conversations, relatively meaningful conversations. I think most people have a friend. They might only bump into them every so often, but I think most people have someone that they get a little deep with. And I think that the general population are kind of deprived of those conversations. That's the beauty of recording them and kind of listening in on other people's kind of conversations.
Yeah, like I suppose we have a good circle of friends that we kind of often have these sort of conversations, or have deep kind of meaningful conversations all the time. Like, but if you only have one person that you're talking to that way, you're having good conversations with each other, but it's always going to be around the same things, and oftentimes it's going to be in the pub. It's just the way people meet these days, and there's like two lads don't really go for dinner or go for a cup of coffee together that often. More likely you're going to go to the pub, we have a few pints and have a chat then, and maybe after 4 or 5 pints, that's when you get into some sort of conversation after you've gone through the did Liverpool do well yesterday, or the whatever the meaningless conversation is before that. And then you get into it. We often come in and straight away we're into, what do you think of, I know, Sam Harris's latest podcast with such and such, and what he thought about this, and straight away we're into that sort of conversation, where I don't think like there are enough people having those conversations, that it tends to be around drinking and stuff like that. So you're not going to get that good of a meaningful conversation, particularly if you're in a group. You can't have a conversation like that. It has to be either 2-on-1 or 1-on-1 sort of thing,
It's funny, I was chatting to a girl there recently, Lynn Murta, and I was chatting to her about a recent podcast that I did with Donald Cuff and a couple of other ones, but the similarities between herself and Donald is she has 2 kids who are on the spectrum, who are autistic. Now, my understanding of it is that they are far further down that spectrum on the not the ideal side, call it, than Donald's young lad. And she mentioned the possibility of not just coming on, but coming on with her husband Darren. And I said, yeah, great, if either one of you want to come on, or both of you want to come on, great to have you. It's a topic that needs to be kind of discussed a bit more openly, and they're a lot further on down that autistic rabbit hole, purely because their kids are that bit older than Donald's lad. And herself only actually asked me this morning, would I get on 2 guests at the same time? And even that, like, whatever about Darren and Lynn, because they're married, they're a unit. So it's me talking to a couple.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? It's they're essentially one person to a degree. But when you get 2 people in to talk to, that's difficult. And like you're saying, like more than 2 is difficult, but even 3 is, it's not impossible, but I think far harder to have a proper conversation. You go to 4, fucking forget about it. And there's usually 4 or 5 or maybe 6
and that's
lads
when,
down the pub.
And that's when it turns into banter then, because you can only have them sort of banter conversations and slagging people because everyone gets that and it's easy to do, like, you know. But like I'd often see, like, if you go for a few pints with a few lads, how'd you get on the weekend, blah blah blah, the usual kind of conversation. Go for a few pints with one guy and you'll have far more conversation with that one guy or girl or whatever it is than you would with a group, like, because I think when you're in that group environment it's not conductive to good conversations, and that's why it just ends up in slagging matches most of the time, you know.
I think that the more people that are there, the more bland your conversation has to be kind of all
acceptable, like, yeah.
Acceptable.
Why is that? Why do you think that is?
Because I think when you're speaking to an individual, you can, I don't know, it's just more kind of honed. It's more, the conversation is more bespoke. It's like anything. It's like if you were in a band and you wanted to sell, you know, millions of CDs or fucking downloads or whatever it is, you'd make your music acceptable to a much wider audience, which makes it kind of bland and vague and a bit meh. And you're just going for beats per minute and, you know, please everybody type of stuff. But if you're writing a song or, you know, having a conversation with an individual, it's a lot more kind of tailored. So maybe there's that element of it.
Yeah.
I think the banter thing is very important as well, though, because if there was 4 or 5 lads down the pub and you're having a deep and meaningful conversation, one of them says something, maybe one of them goes outside their comfort zone slightly and maybe exposes a little bit of themselves. It just takes one lad, oh, you would say that, you big gay, or whatever it is. Like, you know, you would say that, you with your fucking, you know, whatever.
So you're not going to come out with that sort of thing. You're going to go, and then not say it then, like, you know. So that's why the conversations don't really tend to be, most of the time anyway. I'm sure, like, there are lads that go out and have good conversations like that, but I think it's coming more and more like the people are trying to get those conversations through the likes of podcasts and kind of online kind of presentations through TED Talks and stuff like that, and trying to get information and conversation that way rather than down the pub, you know. So off the lead and what it's doing, and, you know, the whole podcast medium is hugely important to people's conversation abilities and be able to, you know, kind of get their thoughts straight on stuff, like, you know, because you can't, like, if you could go down to someone's house and have a chat with them and go, what do you think about XYZ, whatever topic you want, generally you don't do that, or you can't do it, or both people don't have the time, or you might do it very occasionally, but you can listen to 5 podcasts a day and get so much more information through that sort of medium, through just listening to other people have conversations, basically what it is most of the time, you know.
Yeah, and as well, the difference between the podcast medium and you know, meeting up with someone. If I sit down to someone for 5 minutes and we start chatting, and for whatever reason I don't like them, I can't just go, right, lads, I'm actually not really enjoying this, you know, fuck off, I'm going to talk to someone else. But with a podcast, that's exactly what you can do. You can kind of go, I'm not really digging this. You change to another one.
Yeah. So what have you found then? Like, so I've listened to all of the podcasts so far, and probably one of the first guests that has been able to listen to everything, because I obviously saw it from the ground up and was able to listen to Beef and my brother Paul and all them coming all on at the very start. But so I've been getting those conversations, been able to listen to them, so I've been able to talk to you about them afterwards and stuff like that as well. What have you found, I suppose, to be the best part of having a podcast or having this sort of medium? Is it that you're getting to have these conversations all the time and learning more, or what do you think it is?
It's hard to give just one answer. What I'll do is I'll start as best I can rhyming off stuff, because there's been no one thing. Like,
whatever comes to mind.
Loads of things. Before I started the podcast, if you picked up my phone and went into my WhatsApp, there was herself, you, Patter. You know, I'm running out of names that would have been in the last 6 months on my fucking WhatsApp, you know, feed or wall or whatever you want to call it. You know, 2 or 3, 10 people fucking tops. But now, like, even just this morning, Ivor texted me to say that he listened to Michael Thompson's podcast yesterday, saying that really enjoyed it, your man seems like a gent, and he's going to place an order for his the protein bar crowd that he mentioned. You actually mentioned
yeah.
them yourself.
Origin Protein.
Origin Protein.
So for people who don't know, I have myself and previous guest of yours, Graham Mackin,
past guest and friend of the show.
Yeah. Have a bike and run shop in Trim, on the Navan Road there in Trim, so just behind Supermax there. It's called Spun Cycle Spun Run.
10 minutes is all it took him, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm in. And there's no discount for off the lead.
What? 75%
10%. And that's about it. But yeah, so I was just actually texting Graham yesterday and just said, geez, I was listening to the podcast yesterday and the guy mentioned these clean protein bars, because we have some companies that do protein bars, but they're, as he was saying, they're not clean. Like, they are full of bulking agents, and we try to keep stuff, and particularly the nutrition side of things, to be nutritional, like, to not be, the junk food, chocolate bars, yeah, or just taking out some of the sugar and bulked up with something else. So we're going to give those guys a shout down there in Kerry and see if we can just get a few boxes off them and see how it goes, and start selling them up here. I know they're mainly based in Kerry, so I'm sure they'll jump at the chance to try and get into a sports shop up in Meath, so I'll give them a shout. But that's the beauty of, like, if you didn't have that conversation with him, I wouldn't have heard of them, and I wouldn't have put in the order for a few boxes. And I'm sure if it goes well, it'll be a continuous thing,
Oh yeah, and like that's one of the things that I would have mentioned, because the kind of tagline to accompany the podcast is, provoking conversations and initiating change. And I think a lot of people take that as meaning that they have to kind of sort their life out, and they have to kind of change the world, and they have to do all these kind of mad and grandiose things. But if it's you guys changing your supplier from, some generic Mars-owned company that's made in God knows where, to lads down the country in Ireland, like, I know, like that's
and like I haven't even asked him what the price is. So the price doesn't even matter.
Hope he doesn't listen to this now.
Before
the order goes in.
All up. But like, it doesn't really matter, because people will be happy. Like, we'd be far more happy to sell someone a cleaner product if it's 50 cent more expensive, but it's probably going to be the same price.
Yeah, well, it has to be kind of competitive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and people will pay more for a cleaner product anyway. But again, they're Irish, they're clean, they're sourcing as much Irish stuff as they can as well. So, like, it ticks all the boxes, and like, we want to be able to do that, like, and we want to be able to use companies like that. But I suppose it's hard for them and for us to find each other as well. Like, there kind of needs to be, and there probably is, like, just even a website where you go on and you can, well, I suppose you can just Google it. I suppose I could have just went on to Irish Sourced.
You could have, but we don't. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah. Like, it needs to, like, if I had heard of him 2 years ago, I would have got him in 2 years ago. It's just it takes time to people, I suppose, to get their name out there, and to be able to sort out a distribution channel. But like, there's definitely demand out there for clean products. Like, and Mars do have, like, Mars protein bars and Snickers protein bars that taste the same as Mars and Snickers protein bars, and Bounty and Twix and everything, but they've put in more protein and taken out a bit more. But it's all like, when you're tasting it, it tastes good, and people like it, and people use it, and we stock it because people want it. But it's basically, it tastes like the off runs of all of the natural, or not the natural, but the usual Mars bar. So whatever's left over, they've crammed that all in and put a scoop of protein in, and then package it and send it off again. So be able to go to an Irish company like that and say, look, we like what you do, we want to support you, we'll buy a few boxes off and take it from there. Like, and I'm sure, he like, I can see that he has them in, like, Super Value down in Kerry and stuff like that, but I can't see that he's in any sports shops. So I'm sure it'll be a whole new channel for him as well, and that's where there's a big market there for him as well.
No, big time, yeah. And like, just being able to promote guys like that, like, and I didn't get on the owner of this company to talk about it. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
That's another cool thing about it. I got an email from a guy in Australia. I can't think of his fucking name now, but he emailed me to say that he was enjoying the podcast or whatever else. But he also mentioned that he had just placed an order for the Mythical Ireland book.
Cool.
And I was just you're selling books the other side of the world for people. How fucking cool is that? Like, like, even if it never got read, the fact that it's on a shelf the other side of the world.
Someone will read it at some stage. Absolutely. That wouldn't have before
Yeah, or
listening to the podcast.
or flick through it and look at the pictures and just be brought back to that world. Like it's
was
class.
it the butterfly
flaps its wings?
and the waves, like it really is, like, and it's small, like, and as you have said so many times, incremental changes to people's lives and to what you do is like they can be huge in a month's time, a year's time, a week's time, and like, and sometimes immediately a small change can be absolutely massive, you know?
Yeah, and like you asked me at the outset, like what have I seen from the podcast, or what has changed, or whatever way you phrased it, and that's why I said that I couldn't really give you one thing, because each little thing would make a big difference in its own right, but it has that kind of that knock-on effect, like, do you know, like, I know
and even like, I know, like, a few of the lads that we play cards with, like, you know, they would generally not be podcast listeners, and they've obviously, Fran was doing a podcast, I have to listen and see what it's all about, like, and people have been getting into podcasts, and just there last Friday, like, they were saying, "Oh, did you listen to the new Blind Boy podcast?" And I was like, "Yeah, did you?" And they're like, yeah, I started at the start and went all the way through, like, and these lads would have never kind of have even listen to those conversations before, like, so at least you're kind of exposing people to the whole podcast medium as well that wouldn't generally have even been crossed their paths, like, you know.
Oh, big time. And I found the same with Patreon. There's about a dozen people supporting me now on Patreon, so shout out to all the patrons, yourself included. But would I be right in saying that I'm the first person that you've been a patron of? Or
yeah.
And I think the other, I can't remember the numbers, about 12 people that are supporting me. I would imagine they're all the same. So not only have you introduced podcasting to certain people, but you're introducing the idea of patronage to certain people. And, like, you know, I'm sure you've mentioned it to somebody else, either the podcast or the patron thing. And, like, the little incremental steps, that's
I know that I have that set up, like, I know, like, and I've always kind of said, I must give Blind Boy a couple of quid, and I must give Sam Harris a couple of quid, and whoever else is on it, and, you know, I never really did, like, you know, and I kind of always kind of made excuses. And then when you set up yours, I said, no, I'll definitely set up the account and support Frano. And now that that's set up, I'm far more likely now to
support
give
someone else.
Yeah,
of course, yeah.
So the knock-on effect of that is huge again.
Of course,
like,
it is. You're in that world of patronage, and it's just it's such a really cool thing. You get an unlimited amount of whatever it is the person is putting out there. In my instances, or in my circumstance, you know, podcasts or whatever. But the fact that you get personally to contribute to keeping that show on the road is, I don't know, something really cool, because we need a new model, especially for music. Like the music industry is, I don't know where it is, but it's nowhere good, I don't think, between...
The only thing about Patreon is when you go onto Patreon and you search for people to kind of support, there is, like, they don't seem to be able to give you similar, like, I'm getting thrown loads of podcasts,
right?
Like, most of them are in America, and most of them you have to subscribe to them to be able to listen
in the first place.
Yeah. And I don't really like that, like, but if I come on and said, look, this guy has another podcast down in Cork and he's similar to Off the Lead, you know, he like, here's a link to, you know, his podcast, give it a listen, and if you want to be able to contribute, then that you can do it through this link or whatever, you know. But they don't seem to do that, so I think the whole Patreon thing needs to be more adaptable to, you know, the market as well, like,
big time. But it's only in its infancy.
Do you know, like, true. They don't even know what they're at yet themselves.
The only company really doing it that I'm aware of. See,
well, there was Kickstarter and all those sort of things as well.
They're
like,
different though. They're similar but different. Do you know YouTube's jumping on the whole patronage bandwagon?
No.
Yeah, because you can, because YouTube is a Google thing. They have like, you can go onto YouTube now and buy a movie, so you can pay a $5 to watch a movie with Google Payments or whatever way it works. But what they're starting to do now is, when you go into someone's channel, there's the option to be a patron. So if you're a big fan of, I don't know, your man Brian O'Reilly's YouTube channel, and you love his videos and you watch it all the time, but he hasn't, let's say, set up a Patreon account, Google are jumping on this patronage bandwagon, so you can, in a good way.
Like, are they giving all the money direct, or are they trying to get a cut?
Well, I'm sure there's a cut. And even if there wasn't a cut, even if they were giving the guy who had the channel everything, if they're hoovering up tens of millions worldwide, like, you can use that money while it's in your bank. Do you know, like, the way it's plus, in order to be to be a patron, you kind of have to give them your bank details. Once you've given them your bank details,
You're
that bit more inclined to buy the movie or something else. But it just goes to show that they've seen Patreon and went, hang on a fucking second.
I'm surprised they didn't just buy them then, and just add links.
Well, look,
in.
maybe
They probably will eventually.
Maybe that's what's happened. What will happen?
Yeah,
it tends to be the run of things for Google. But yeah, in relation to like the other benefits, my pool of people that I talk to has exploded.
Yeah.
Because what I was saying was, Ivor texted me to say that he listened to it, really enjoyed it, thought your man was sound, and he's going to go buy the protein bars. I copied that and sent it to Michael. And went, well, lad, a mate of mine just fucking texted me there, and he texted me back going, no way, that's class. And it just, you know, his life is that bit better for it. You know, my life is that bit better for it. We're here talking about fucking this Origin protein company. They're getting a good plug. So again, the knock on effects are massive. So my pool of friends has kind of increased.
And like, you're not going to the pub with them all, you know, which is up till not now, but maybe the last few years, the only time you ever met people was going to social occasions or going to the pub or going to weddings and stuff like that, you know. Like, it's great now that you can make new friends, like even at this age, like, you know, and not do it in the traditional sense of going to the pub or going to, I suppose you would do it in sports teams and stuff, but very few people are joining teams at this stage of their life, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, and even when you do, there's like, for the most part, when you join a new team or a new club, there's probably, is it a 3 or a 6 or a 12-month period before you really kind of get talking to anyone? Do you know that kind of way? It can be kind of tough. You can get lucky in some clubs.
You're certainly not going to have a 3 or 4 hour conversation with them on your first day. Like,
no, you're not. And that's the other thing. It's not like this podcast, like when myself and Beef sat down for the first one that was uploaded, like I've been friends at the time with Beef for 20 years. In that 20-year period, we'd probably spoken to each other collectively, like over the years, for maybe 5 or 6 hours. But 4 or 5 out of that 5 or 6 hours would have been, well, lad, what's the crack? Do you know that kind of way? We never really sat down and talked about anything meaty. I'm a lot closer with Beef now.
Yeah, you would have learned. You would have learned who Beef is, like, you know.
Big time, big time.
You would have. Everyone said, "Oh, you know Beef." Oh, yeah, I know Beef well. Like, I went to school with him and I know him 20 years, but you didn't really know.
Yeah,
him well,
no, you're
like,
right.
You know,
100%.
Have his conversation with him,
and the same can be said for everyone else. So not only am I getting to know the people that I would have said I knew anyway, but when was the last time? Here's 2 questions for you. One, when was the last time you rang up, you know, a friend and said you coming over for a chat for a couple of hours?
Yeah.
So that's one question. And the next question is, when was the last time you met up with a blind stranger and did the same? Like, because like your man that was on the other day, Michael, never heard of that man before in my life. Never mind met him when you ranting about him.
I'd say most of your guests.
Jesus, it couldn't be most, is it?
I'd say so, yeah.
Well, what I might do is just pull out the phone, because otherwise I'll forget about people. And
but not like Tony's really good at that. My brother Tony, he's very good at just picking up the phone and giving someone a ring. Now he used to do a lot of driving. He used to have to drive down to Bantry and stuff like that, and Limerick for study and stuff. So he could be in the car for 5 hours. So he'd ring people on his way down to kind of keep himself entertained and to have a conversation with people as well. Like, and I was like, oh Jesus, look, I must start doing that. Like, you know, and he'd often just, I'm sure he's done it with you, just ring you up, do you want to go for lunch? Like, you know, but he's one of all of your friends that kind of do that. You know, I think it's not a difficult thing to do, but we just don't do it.
No, big time. And I have met up with Tony, as you say, like, you know, he rang me up whenever it was and we met up for lunch. But I remember how long ago that was, because Fionn was more or less a newborn at the time.
Oh, but then
he's 4 in the next week or 2. So you're right, there are people who do that, and I know one of them. And 4 years ago we sat down for lunch together, like, you know. So I have the list here in front of me. So Beef, I obviously did know. I knew him 20 years, but again, as we kind of said, wouldn't have spoken fuck all to him. Paul Webster, your brother, obviously. Again, no Paul years, but again, wouldn't have sat down with him for any length of time. Ivor, I wouldn't have known. I knew of him because I played hurling with him 20 years previous, but we hadn't spoken in 20 years.
You didn't have his number in your phone book?
No, not at all. O'Sheen was a cousin of mine, so I knew him. Graham, I knew. But again, the first, let's say, 5 or 6, you can nearly discount, because I wasn't reaching out to blind strangers and not knowing what I was inviting them onto. I had to kind of build up a few people before I could invite on a stranger. And the only reason Ivor was in so early was because he actually contacted me. So Graham was next, Gaz was after that. Roger Dars was a weird one, because I did know him. I would have trained with Roger, but his one did particularly well because everyone in his club listened to it.
Yeah.
Which was weird because Andy Ryan, I would have assumed he would have had the same effect, but the difference between the two lads is Roger is a kind of reserved guy, kind of keeps to himself. Andy's front row centre, out chatting.
I suppose anyone listening to Andy's one probably had heard a lot of it before or had
100,000 times.
Yeah.
So a weird one that came out with Roger was a lot of people contacted me and said, or I might have heard through other people that they'd been training with Roger for years or knew Roger for years for whatever reason, but in the hour chat that I had with him, then you found out more about him than in the years that we were chatting. Like, so that was cool. Simon, again, I worked with but didn't really know. Kev Riley, I would have played cards with a bit, but again, wouldn't have really known. Des, a cousin of mine, but again, wouldn't have known. Patter and Booty known. Ivor was on then again. Anthony Murphy, blind fucking stranger.
Yeah, that's when the blind stranger started coming in.
I think so, yeah, and that was what, number 14, and then the solo ones kicked in. We have to talk about the solo ones. You can't forget about the solo ones. Me fucking losing my mind. Anthony came on again then. That was weird. Like, he was on
a week later,
on a couple of days later.
He got the bug there, didn't he?
It's fucking mad, like, mad. Gas cunt. Solos. Rory Coogan, we bumped into each other over the years, but I wouldn't have had his number. It's fair to say I didn't know the man. We had a great chat. Like,
it's a pity you didn't get into his music much there.
I was only listening to one of his songs there, Lo-Fi. We didn't speak about the man's music at all.
Oh,
which
no.
Big shame.
Which is kind of, it's kind of cool as well, that because I'm sure he whenever he does something like this, it's for the band or for music, so it's probably good for him to be able to talk about something else other than that. But they're really good, really good. He's a great singer.
Yeah, and a great. Like, I don't know what. Something came up. It might have been a Facebook post that he shared, and I was like, Lo-Fi, or when I was like, who the fuck are Lo-Fi? And I was like, oh yeah, that's Rory's. I was like, oh yeah, we never got talking about that. Yeah. Press play. Oh, for fuck's sake, this is actually good.
Do you remember when he was in the band with Mulvey in the Chili's band? The Chili's cover.
They were class. The Chili's cover. Yeah.
They should really get going again. Even just for a one-off gig again, they were fucking
big time. Class. Yeah. So that was Rory. More solos. Juliana, Pat's missus. Again, I'd know her as Pat's missus. Wouldn't really have spent that much time learning tons about her and that. Loads.
That was really good. Yeah.
More solos. Then Andy, Darren McCall, and again Andy, I would have known of him, but I never spoke to the man before. Darren, again, kind of knew of him. Might have,
like, you're gonna, anyone that's in Navan area, you're gonna know of them.
Exactly,
like,
exactly. Especially if they're there about the same age as me. Solo. Did a lot of solos. Joy, again, would have known her thereabouts, but not really. Pat, obviously, my little bro, knew him pretty well. Donal, would have met him through you maybe once or twice. Might have sat beside him at a wedding. But again, that was the height of it. So yeah, more or less a blind stranger. And then Michael there the other day. So he was what, 23? So you're 24. Yes, fucking. The whole thing has been a bit surreal, to be perfectly honest.
I'd say so. Yeah.
It's been mad, and I'm keen to talk to you about the solo ones, actually.
Right, yeah.
Because one thing that I've realised or noticed or been made aware of is, I don't know, it's weird. I don't hear from the conversations that I have with people. I get a lot of feedback from that. People will contact me and say, I like this, or I didn't like that, or, he was cool, or he was a bit mad, or didn't know this about that fella. Yeah. You get a lot about that. But on the solo ones, I've gotten like little to no feedback on.
Right, yeah.
And the weirder ones, the fucking, like, the speech and the rap and the poem ones, zero feedback.
Really, yeah.
Nothing. Which is a bit kind of, that kind of way. Fucking not a whisper.
And you can see there's people listening to them.
Oh yeah,
obviously.
Absolutely, yeah. Some of them do as well as the fucking conversations that I'm having with people. Like it's mad, but no one mentions them to me. Ever at all. Like you might have mentioned them to me because we'd be texting kind of anyway, but nobody has reached out and said, I like it or I don't like it, or kind of kiss me arse, or
even at the start when you were doing the like getting people to do the 20 push-ups and stuff like that, like, did anyone?
No
Really?
No.
Right? Maybe they're just too short and people, they just listen to it and move on to the next thing then, and it doesn't stick in their mind as much. Maybe
I tell a lie. I'm kind of remembering now when it started. There was a few when I was doing the motivational stuff.
Yeah.
That did. A couple of people did actually contact me, but it was only strictly in relation to the motivational aspects. I was telling people to fucking get up early, and you actually gave the advice of getting your clothes ready the day before.
Yeah.
Loads of other bits and pieces like that.
I suppose, yeah, but like there was obviously takeaways from them ones then that people kind of took from, and maybe there wasn't enough takeaways in the other ones, or there were a lot of it was kind of incremental steps. So once people got the idea of, okay, yeah, I just need to make small changes to make big things happen, that, you know, they didn't really need to give you feedback if it was the same sort of message but just in a different way, or a continuation, because they were kind of all linked, you know. They were standalone, but there was the same theme going through them also. Maybe if they gave feedback on the first couple, it was true for the rest of them as well. So I didn't want to say, oh, that one was good as well, because
I wouldn't expect somebody who gave me feedback to give me more. Like if someone reached out to me once, that'd be great. But it's funny you're saying that they were all kind of concurrent, like they all kind of were part of all standalone, but all kind of running into each other. Did you find that from, like, there's 39 of them, did you find that from start to finish? Because I don't know, I kind of felt it was one thing at the start and then another thing maybe at the middle, and I don't know,
remember them all now, but
I'm the same.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of content there. Like,
there's a lot of content. You know? There's a lot of
and
content.
Like some of them are raps and some of them are songs and some of them are, you know, just conversations, and some of them are just, you know, like you pick a topic and just talk about it, like, you know. But yeah, I don't know, I enjoyed them.
What would you like me to see more of? Because I have to kind of I've kind of half made.
You're at the 6 month kind of stage now, so you kind of want to see where you've come from and where you want to go for the next, say, 6 months.
Well, more so that's part of it, but more so I haven't done the 40th.
Yeah,
and I must actually just do that to fucked, so it's kind of behind me. It's been a long 40 days.
Lent has been a long day.
It has, yeah. Lent and
you still have chocolate as well.
I am, yeah. But yeah, so what would you like me to do more of, do you think? Or what were the bits of it that I suppose you'd prefer, you personally, for me to do again, or start, or is there something I haven't done?
No, of course there's loads you haven't done, but
this springs to mind, so.
The one, like, I suppose just the motivational things, like, you know, because people don't get motivated by stuff anymore. Like, and I hate to see those kind of memes coming up on Facebook and other places like that, and it'll have, I don't know, some generic photograph of someone running up a hill or something, and
seize the day
or something like that. Yeah, and like some people will get motivation out of them, but, you know, I think encouraging people much more to do what they want to do, or to find out what they want to do, you know, like, is the life that you're living now really the one that you're happy with? You know, does it give you fulfillment? If not, I would recommend making these changes, or start with these little things, and you know, get out your comfort zone, and like, because a lot of the earlier ones were around that, like, you know, and when you're talking more about setting up your own business, and you know, being able to show people it's not that hard to go and do it, like, you
it's
know,
really not, like, you've done it.
Yeah. And like, as I was saying to you before, I'm still waiting for someone to come knocking in the door going, hey, yeah, you can't just go and set up a business on the main street and just start selling stuff, like, you know. But you can.
Of course you can. Yeah.
You just ring a place that's empty, ask them, can you rent it? You know,
much is the rent?
Much is the rent? Can you afford it? Yes, get in there, ring, Google suppliers, or what we did, actually, and it's amazing how many people are out there that are willing to help you. Like, I just sent emails to shops around the country. I said, look, I'm thinking of setting up a shop. It's not in your vicinity, so I'm not going to be in competition with you. Can you point me in the right direction? What would you recommend we do? And there's a guy actually over in Ballyhonus, over Mayo, really nice guy, Jason. And he got back to me within a day. I said, yeah, like, you know, give me a ring and I'll go through everything. Give him a ring, and he gave me names of suppliers and what to do, what not to do. Like, and if someone was to email me, I would do the exact same. Like, so there's people out there that will help you. Like, but all you need to do is find the premises, find suppliers. You probably need a loan.
You know, depending on what it is that you're looking to do. Yeah.
And the banks are there to help you. You just need to give, like, they're going to make it difficult on you, and they're going to give you as little as they can. But if you can, you need to sell it to them. Like, you know, you really need to have your plan in place and have a business plan, and give them no opportunity to say no. Like, I spent many nights just doing up a business plan for the shop, like, and you know, when we gave it into the bank, they were really impressed with it, like, and they actually said this is a really good business plan. It's one of the best ones we've got, like, and from the get go, then I was ticking all their boxes, like, so whatever they were looking for, give it to them and make sure that they know that you're able to give them whatever they want, like,
Yeah,
you know,
just pander to them.
Yeah, just make
yeah.
it easy for them to say yeah. And what they did in the end, the bank gave us half, and Microfinance Ireland, so they're a government-run agency that will give small businesses low interest loans as well. So they gave us half. So they kind of went in conjunction with each other, and that worked really. And there's loads of government-run agencies as well that are there for support and help, and particularly any of them that will give you money kind of have to give it to you because they're government-run and they're doing it with your tax money anyway. So if you can, again, prove to them what you want and what you're going to do with it and have a solid plan, you know, they'll give you the money. So that's the hardest part, is just getting started. And the first 3 years is going to be the hardest until you get the loans and everything paid off. But once you've that in your rear view mirror, it's plain sailing. Well, it's not plain sailing, it's going to be hard, but
of course
it's doable. Like, you know,
worthwhile.
yeah, it's not like I was on eBay for 8 years. Fucking loved it there. Like, sure, it was easy. It was so in my comfort zone. It's just easy to do. I was good at it. I was there that long. I was kind of an expert in what I was doing, so I was performing well, bonus wise and stuff as well. And you know, eventually, our team got so kind of important to the company that we were looking after the UK market, so they moved our team over to the UK. So they made all us redundant. So from there, then that kind of gave me the kick up the arse to kind of do what we want to do. And myself and Graham were in the pub one night, and he had a story about another bike shop, and I was saying it's mad, like, that, you know, there's no kind of modern bike shops going, like, and he was saying, yeah, no, there's definitely a space for that. And he was saying there's no bike shop in Trim. I was saying, well, is there not? And he said, no, there's a small one there, but like, it's kind of kids bikes and stuff. And just from then on, literally 3 months later, we opened up a shop on one of the main streets in Trim, just by using kind of contacts that we had. And like you'll find out as well that so many of your friends have set up businesses that will be able to help you do what you want to do as well. And you know, there's a huge circle of support there for people who want to do it, but it's getting out of that comfort zone. If I wasn't made redundant from eBay, I'd still be there because it was a handy number and it's in my comfort zone. And sometimes you just need a catalyst like that to get you out of your comfort zone, to push you towards what you really want to do. Like, and I remember when I was telling Mom that what we were going to do, she was like, I always knew you were going to go into business. Like, when you were like 5 or 6, you were getting all the toys that you had that we were finished kind of playing with and setting up shop in the front. You'd open up the garage door and open it up, and I'd have a table there, would have a jumble sale, like, and I used to pay the younger neighbours to go around on the bikes shouting that there was a sale on in number 42 Silver Lawns. And that was your marketing department there. Like, you know, you had your budget set out and you give them whatever you had, like, and then whenever it was closed, I'd pull down the shutter, so that was the garage door, like, and I'd be counting the money up at the end. And she was saying you were always kind of destined to get into business, but obviously you have that, if you're going into being self-employed, you have the unsecurity. And me, like, coming from eBay, that was probably, up until we got made redundant, one of the most secure kind of jobs you could get at the time. Like, I got that in the height of the recession, so I was getting pay increases during the recession when others were kind of losing their jobs. So I knew kind of how lucky I was, and not to take that for granted, but that, you know, I always had it in the back of my mind. And you probably remember, like, I was setting up shops on eBay, selling stuff as well, and always had that sort of desire to go out on my own, and to do what I wanted to do. Like, I own a bike and run shop, and I run and cycle, but I'm not great at it. Like, you know, I don't race. I race triathlon, and a lot of the time it's just a finish. But that's why, like, if you're getting into something just because it's your hobby, that's when it can become difficult then, because you do need the business element in you. You need the business kind of background, or you need someone that will have that. So if you are brilliant at making cakes, you know, get someone, and if you want to do it big on a big scale, just make sure that you have an accountant that will point you in the right direction. And again, like, we use our friend, like, you know, you'll have your circle of friends that will be able to help you in these sort of situations that you can kind of talk to on a personal level as well. But often you just need that kick up the arse to go and do it. And, you know, it's a hard decision to make, but it'll definitely reap its rewards. Like you would have been the same. Were you in Meads when you finished up in Meads?
Well, yeah, Meads was my last. That was my last job. I think, was it? Because I was working for myself. I was doing kind of freelance sales consultancy while I set up the other business. But there's nothing about working for other people that I miss. Like now, granted, I never had as cushy a number as you might have had in eBay, say. But do you miss anything about it?
No, I will miss the team. I'll miss being part of a team sometimes. So we had a great team in eBay, and we're all kind of friends. And I often said to people, like how many of your friends do you get to spend 40 hours a week with? Like, they're your workmates, but they're ones that you spend a lot of time with. And we had a really good team there, and we all got on really well, and we used to socialise together, and a lot of us keep in touch. But other than that, no. Like even having to be in on a specific time, like if you're in at 5 minutes late and your manager's on your back, like it's like, what the fuck, like that's so trivial to the overall reason why people work, like, to bring it down to people being late into an office to do a job, like, and just kind of killing time, like, like,
yeah, winding down the clock.
Yeah, looking at going, right, I'm wrecked now, all I have to do is I'll wait another hour and a half and then I can go home.
Yeah,
instead of just being going home, like.
It's funny, I was chatting to a guy recently about this. He was saying that people have this idea in their head that you can be at work, and he just thought that was completely wrong-headed. You shouldn't be at work. You should be working.
Yeah.
And if you're not working, you're just I know myself in jobs that I've had before, especially the ones that I didn't really give a shit about, the telesales jobs or that. Somebody could ring me and they'd ask, what are you up to? You'd say, I'm just at work. And just that idea of, you're there and you're there till 5 o'clock.
You're at a place
till you're not
like,
at work anymore. Yeah. Now you mightn't be planning on doing any work for the next couple of hours, but just this idea that you're at work. And I think most people will get that. I think most people, if the average working week is 40 hours a week, I reckon most people could probably do their job in 20.
Oh,
They'd probably spend half their time
wasting time,
fannying around, and
and it's well known. That's well known.
And I think
well
so.
Known,
yeah.
And businesses will know that, like, that their employees waste half of their time.
Yeah, absolutely.
There. Like I think it was Virgin. I'm nearly sure it was Virgin that Branson brought in. I think it's for all employees in Virgin. He'll set you targets, and you meet them targets, and you work whatever way you want to work. You work from home, you work in the office, work whatever time you want, and it's all around you. As long as you hit your target, we don't care. But he put the target so high that you have to be in, like, at least 8 hours a day or 6 hours a day, whatever it is. But if that's the case, and if you're really, like, diligent and you're working, you can get it done in 4 hours, then you can go, like, so I think there should be a lot more of that, and there should be a culture really in companies that, if their work is measurable, that they don't have to be in for 8 hours a day, like, there's only a certain amount of hours in the day. You shouldn't have to spend eight of them or 9 of them or 10 of them in an office doing it if you're only actually working for 4 hours.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even the whole 9 to 5 thing, like, I think that's becoming redundant. Like, all that seems to do is
slowly but surely, I think.
Problems,
Yeah.
Now, granted, there's certain industries that kind of have to be set by that, but I think more and more people are either working full time from home or kind of part time, or they're bringing work home with them. Now, that's not obviously a great thing either. But I suppose the biggest thing for me about not working for somebody else is just the autonomy. It's just being able to kind of come and go as you please, and there's a real psychological benefit from that, of kind of steering your own ship. Do you know, and that's another thing I think I've mentioned in the solo podcast as well, is this idea that you're the captain. It's not reliant on anyone else, and I think if you can do that with your work,
but it's only reliant on you. It should, like,
big time. Yeah,
your whole like. No one else is going to make the decisions for you or is going to direct you in the way you go. Some might, but, like, ultimately it comes down to you, and that's the end of it. Like,
we're going to go deep, Dave. We're going to go deep. We're going to go deep, right? When you say it's up to you,
oh yeah,
is there a couple of yous in there? Is it the you on a Monday morning, or is it the you on a fucking Friday afternoon? How many yous do you think there is? Like, how many Dave Websters are there?
Yeah,
are they all? Are they all good? Are they all bad? Are they all a bit of both?
They're all a bit of both, probably, but ultimately, like, and I think you've brought it up before as well. Like, have you ever made a decision that you really, really regretted doing, like that, like business wise, or changing, like, when you were hemming and hawing over doing something or whether or not you do something and you went ahead and did it, 99% of the time it's the right thing to do, or it has the best results for actually taking the step forward and go, fuck it, right, I'll go and do it anyway. How many times does it come back to bite you in the arse? Like,
yeah, very few.
Yeah.
But what? Sorry, I'm losing you there. What's
like,
your
so
point?
when you do make a decision to make a change or to drive something forward or to whatever it is that you want to do, most of the time you will point yourself in the right direction.
Yeah,
like,
so why
like
not do more of it?
Yeah, well, I could just go, right, I'm going to go absolutely mad on drugs and alcohol for the next 2 years. But I'm not going to do that because I know it's not going to be the best thing for me to do. So when I make a decision and go, okay, I'm going to do, I don't know, something, I'm going to open up another shop, say. I know that, right, in my thoughts and in my conscious thoughts that that's a good thing to do. So I'm going to keep on pursuing that. So you kind of self-police yourself, really, so that you don't go off and do mental things, because if all the decisions that you make all the time worked out good, then you would end up going off doing kind of crazy drugs and alcohol for binges for a couple of years. But if you trust yourself that you're going to make them the right decisions, then you're going to follow those decisions more often, if you know what I mean.
No, big time. And again, another thing that I've kind of harped on about a little in the solo ones is this idea that you create your own reality. So if you're comfortable with the decision that you've made, then it's the right decision. Do you know that kind of way? Like if you're doing something and you're saying to yourself in your head, "Oh, I probably shouldn't be doing this," you fucking definitely shouldn't be doing this. Like,
so trust yourself when you go, no, I think my gut is telling me that this is the right thing to do. 99% of the time it is the right thing to do, or it will have the best results for you, you know. And if you are second guessing it, then you're second guessing it for a reason. So, you know, maybe do more research into it, or, you know, kind of find out a bit more. And then if you're still having second thoughts on it, then, you know, maybe just leave it for a while, you know.
There is a kind of another side of you though as well, though, is there? Because like the obvious example for me is, like, I'm a devil for pounding chocolate in the evenings. And I mean pounding it, like.
Oh, I've joined you on many occasions.
Wow, like, Jesus Christ, like, myself and yourself, you know, 10,000 calories, no bother. Do you know, like, kind of a
easy,
bag full of chocolate
to start
like.
with, yeah.
And like, the reason I mention that is I'll find myself kind of stalking the presses, going, and I'll say to myself, no, I won't eat that. That's full of fat. It's full of sugar. I don't need it. And while I'm saying that, I'm reaching for it, like, do you know? Halfway through the packet, like, and I've caught myself. It's weird. I've caught myself. I you know, something catches my eye, the wrapper in the fridge door or something, and as my brain is kind of collecting what I'm about to think about the negative aspects of what I'm about to do, I reached out and stuffed it into my mouth. Do you know kind of way? I'm literally getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, before your mind tells you not to do it.
Before I can rationalize it, like, and it's weird because it's that other kind of person. It's weird.
And like, if you do that, so if you grab the packet of biscuits, say, and have half of them, and then afterwards your kind of mind goes, oh, I shouldn't have had them. I feel kind of shit now. That was right not to. My mind was kind of right to say no, to second guess that, and then you go, oh, I feel shit now, I might as well finish the packet there.
Absolutely. What
I'll try to make myself feel better.
What I'll do is I'll say, right, I'm after eating fucking half the fucking packet of them. Jesus Christ, no, I can't do that. What I'll do instead is I won't eat the other half. I'll eat this bar here, and then eat the bar and the other half, like, do you know, that kind of way.
And it's like, and Ivor was saying that to me as well, like, that's a thought as well, like, so you have that thought comes into your mind, and you kind of, you know, you kind of do your best to kind of jump around it and not have the biscuits or whatever it is, but he was saying to me as well that, you know, another thought can just as easily come in into your mind, and you can kind of chase on that one rather than chasing on the biscuits as well. So allowing your mind to make the decision to, like, your mind is telling you not to have them, but before it's telling you not to have them, you've half of it gone. So if you can at all, try and get another thought going and follow that one, like, you know. But that's the the other part of you trying to take over as well.
Yeah, it's funny, and I think that these are conversations, these type of things that we're thinking. That's something not spoken about by anyone. This kind of the thoughts that we have in our own head. I think for a long time people have been going around thinking that they're knowing that they're a little bit crazy, and that other people aren't like that, without realizing we're all kind of as crazy as each other. Like,
sure, mate. Like, even I'd say everyone's the same. If you're at home in your house alone, you're singing around the place, or you might dance, or you might do a little jig when you're going up the stairs.
You'll do
Weird
shit that
stuff
you
like
wouldn't do with someone watching you.
Yeah.
Like,
so as soon as you go outside your door, you're a different person. Like, you act differently, you speak differently. That's and if you're at home all the time and that's the way you're doing it, and then when you go outside, you're totally different. That's when you do have two different sides of you.
And I think that's why a lot of people have an aversion for coming on, because they've had conversations maybe in their own head, so they've thought about things, but because they haven't articulated it out loud, they're like, "Ooh, I'm not opening up that fucking Pandora's box. Yeah. God knows what crazy shit I've been saying to myself for years that I haven't had kind of questioned." Like, the first time, I think it's because the first time people have their kind of thoughts exposed or questioned, they don't want that to be live on air, like forever. Yeah. So I think maybe it's a sign for when people who say that they want to come on but can't, it's just a sign that they haven't. They mightn't have people like I've had you, and I've had Pat, and I've had different people in my life that I've been able to have these conversations with. Yeah,
I'd say a lot of it's that. And I was gonna, there was something else coming into my head there when you were saying that, another reason. And it's not for people that you've reached out to, like, but it's often what you don't see. Like, say Joe Rogan, for example, he doesn't get huge stars onto his podcast. It's probably one of the biggest ones in the world.
Oh, by a mile.
Doesn't get like Madonna doesn't come on it.
Yeah.
And, like, other people don't come on it because they when they do interviews, they have a specific set of questions, a specific set of answers.
The book, the movie, whatever.
Go outside that, and if you put them on, and if you actually listen to their thoughts, they sound like morons. Like, they wouldn't be able to have a decent conversation. That's why they don't. Like, so like people, it's hard for people to, have a decent conversation with someone if they haven't had it before, and not sound like an idiot, or not to have thought about their thoughts before, or have kind of rationalized different things in their mind as well. So I can see why people would, be reluctant to come on, or just nervous to come on. And maybe if you had them without the mics, or without the recording, and then in 3 or 4 times then after that, so at least you're still having a conversation, they're having a conversation.
Yeah.
It's just not going out public, and then say, okay, I'm ready for a live one.
For a live one, yeah.
That, and that'll be helping them as well,
Oh no, I
just record it and say nothing and then throw it up.
Wow. But it's funny though, because the conversations that people mightn't necessarily want recorded are probably the best ones. Yeah. Because you want to hear people figuring shit out. You want to hear people going, okay. And again, people's aversion to saying, the wrong thing. It's weird, because if somebody comes on and we get chatting about something fucking deep and meaningful or whatever, and then they kind of go, okay, right, I wouldn't have thought that, or I take back what I just said there now on the back of what you said. That's fine, and that moves on.
Yeah.
So no big deal in a sense.
You can't really make a mistake. You can't really fuck up what you're going to say, or else they're your thoughts then. Like,
and if fucking, which is worse, to have kind of dodgy thoughts that are dodgy, or to have dodgy thoughts that you don't know are dodgy. Yeah. But I suppose
that you have the dodgy thoughts without talking to someone about them.
Or making yourself aware of your own dodgy
just
thoughts.
Just verbalizing your thoughts and having someone else going, well, that's mad, like that, you're completely wrong there, or you're right there, and it's okay to think that, like, and a lot of time you just, and that, like, Tony does a lot of that, my brother, the psychologist, like, a lot of the time he's just having a conversation with people that are in seriously bad ways and depression, and I think he'd never discuss cases, like, but I know a lot of the stuff he's doing is kind of saying to people, look, it's not that bad really, is it? Like, when you look at what your life is and what you're doing, and you have really bad anxiety, but you shouldn't really, there's no need to have it, because your thoughts are normal. Everyone has these sort of bad days and good days and stuff like that. So like just being able to talk to people about it and have your conversations and, you know, be able to verbalize your thoughts is huge.
No, massive. But I think a big part of the problem is that this, I don't know if it's begrudgery as such, but I don't know, I'm beginning to form the opinion that begrudgery is in the eye of the beholder. So the idea being that, like, if you talk to someone, let's say your man there beside us, Paul has this idea that he wants to do, and he wants to become a singer, say, but he won't because of, you know, other people, you know, begrudging him or whatever. He's doing that.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean when I say begrudgery is in the eye of the beholder. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing all that. Nobody else is doing it. And even if they were, you probably wouldn't know they were.
No.
So you're doing that all to yourself. Like.
Yeah. That's like, I think I was saying to you before that I heard someone say that anxiety is like fake news for the mind. Like, you know, that you're just making up like situations that might occur or probably won't occur in your own mind, and that's driving you insane. Like, so it's the same if you think that if you're not going to do something because you think that other people are going to begrudge you for doing it, that's you doing that, as you were saying.
Yeah,
like, you know,
time.
that's you putting that thought in your mind. Like, whereas if it was actually happening, so if you were actually making an album and someone turned around to you and said, "You're fucking like, who do you think you are going making an album? You're from Kilberry or whatever it is." Like, you know, that's begrudgery there, and that would be people kind of doing it directly to you. Like, you know, so if they're not doing it directly to you, it's only in your mind.
You're doing it yourself. And if somebody was to do it directly to you,
fuck off.
Fuck off, exactly. But can you imagine being in the room where somebody, let's say you're in the pub and there's 20 people in the corner of the pub or whatever, and one guy happens to be a fledgling singer-songwriter or whatever, and somebody else in the pub goes, you know, who do you think you are writing music? The general consensus in the room will be, shut the fuck up. Who the fuck asked you?
Yeah.
What have you done with your life?
Yeah.
And again, the type, because people like that, there are begrudging people out there, without a doubt about it. But those type of people are typically the type of people who've never really done anything.
Yeah. They're jealous. Most people that are begrudging, they'd be jealous. Like, you know, and you'd often, like, I remember hearing a story about a guy who opened up a pub in, I think it was down in Kerry or something like that, but he opened up a pub, and the you know, it was kind of a new kind of pub for where it was, and the people in the obviously the other publicans there saw a bit of a threat, like, so they spread a rumour that publican was gay or something like that, you know. And I was like, Jesus Christ, imagine going to those kind of lengths to spread rumours about someone because someone was setting up like a rival business to you. Like, you know, that's pure begrudgery there, like, you know. And you know, those people were kind of, you know, they were going to sit like I forget where I'm kind of going with that one.
No, you're grand. But again, that's I think a thing that people are afraid of as well, is that they'll start a point and then they'll lose their train of thought, and you know, the fucking world will end. You know.
Yeah, you were moving there as well, so I kind of lost.
Yeah, sorry
for
people listening. I was fucking fidgeting with the radiator here. It got a bit chilly, but again, little things like that will happen, and I think people are afraid.
That happens in normal conversations as well. Like,
you know, no big fucking deal. Like, you know, that kind of way. And I think a lot of people would, if you were to say to them, right, imagine hypothetically you came on the podcast and you lost your train of thought mid-sentence for whatever reason, you know, what would happen? I think most people who are kind of afraid of coming on would say, oh, fuck, God knows. You know, what would happen? I'll tell you what would happen. I, as the host, will go, don't worry about it. It's grand.
And anyone listening, if they went, oh, he lost his train of thought.
Oh my God. Like, fucking, like, you know, the shame, like, you know, that you lose your train of thought. But again, it just normalizes it. And that's what I love about my platform and how it's not produced. Like, I could have paused that, listened back to it, went, that's where you were, Dave. Okay, right. Hit record. You could have went on and it could have been seamless. Yeah. But it's fake. It's not real.
It's not a conversation then. And I think you've often said, look, I don't want to interview people. Like, and people, like they would say, like if we're going to bog, he's going to be asking me stuff, like, you know, and stuff that I might not know the answer to, or I might not be happy with the answer I gave or whatever. And that's where, you know, if you drive the whole conversation element, like, you know, you're just having a chat, like, you know, now there are mics in front of you and people listen to it, but it's still a one-on-one conversation, like, and whatever happens in a normal conversation is going to happen in a conversation with mics in front of you as well.
For good and bad.
Yeah, yeah.
For good
like
and
if
bad.
we've gone camping together, and you know, we've spent long journeys, like in the car and stuff, and in the car you would, like, you'd be chatting all the time, like, and there might be a minute silence then, or a couple of minutes silence, and no one said anything, and then you'll go in again, like, you know, and that'll happen in normal conversations. But obviously in this one you try and keep it going all the time. That's when you will kind of lose your train of thought, like, but it's just part of a conversation, you know.
Big time. And to lay anybody's fears who might want to come on, say, but is afraid of there being a pause, that's my job. This is my platform.
True.
I'm the host.
Yeah.
You know, it's my job to kind of fill that space.
Yeah.
And I think I've done that relatively well up until now.
Yeah.
It's not fucking rocket science, really, you know. But this idea that, I suppose people are kind of, they're held captive by themselves in a weird way. Do you know that kind of way? Like they're afraid of people laughing, and they're afraid of people, and I don't mean specifically in relation to coming on. I mean doing whatever it is that they want to do, because as I kind of alluded to in my rather unhinged rant at the end of the fucking rap there the other day, I personally think that the country, and maybe I'm wrong here, but I personally think that the country is jam fucking packed with poets and rappers and artists and musicians and singers and songwriters and fucking, you know, all sorts of different people. But they're just, they've entrapped themselves.
I think a lot of it is the environment that this country has built for the likes of them. It's so hard to be an artist now and to buy a house. You know, you can't, like...
Yeah, but you don't have to do it full time either. I mean, like, I don't earn a living from this podcast, like.
No,
do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
Like, I get a few quid from the patrons, which is brilliant, but it's not a fucking livelihood.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But if you want to be an artist and all you want to do is be an artist, it's very hard to be an artist. You have to have a job and then be an artist at the weekends.
True, yeah.
Like, it's very, like, I've often kind of thought, like, why can't you just buy a small house? Why can't you just buy like a 1-bedroom house or a condo or whatever? You know, you have a lot of them in America. They just have small houses that are like one 2 people occupants, and that's it, with a nice bath and a shower, and you can buy it for 50 grand or something. You can't do that. Like, you can't buy a house for less than probably 200 grand these days. So how the hell are you supposed to try and be creative or be an artist or be able to do something or to even leave a job, a good paying job, to not earn for a couple of years, to be able to then eventually earn and still pay a mortgage? You just can't do that, because people don't have the ability to even buy an apartment now for a couple of years. To, you know, all I need to do is make 200 quid a week, and that's my rent covered and my food and expenses covered, and I can go down and draw caricatures on the street for all day, and that's what I love to do. You can't do that, like, because you can't live on that sort of money in this country for so many reasons that, you know, we've just made it we've actually made it so that everybody needs to be and wants to be middle class, or wants to be at that sort of level where you have a house and a car and a patch of land or whatever it is, and that's what everyone seems to be striving for. Whereas I think, you know, if we kind of flipped it and allowed people to still be creative, but to have, you know, have the opportunity to buy smaller houses or even bigger houses or whatever it is, but just to have the opportunity to buy a smaller house, I think would allow more people to be an artist or be artisan kind of producers of something.
Yeah, but you're talking about doing it full time, and I agree with everything that you say there, and I think also, as an aside, that the working class has been pushed out of our society, because as the world gets increasingly more complex, there's less working class jobs for working class people.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way? But what I'm more referring to is people who not necessarily want to do it for their living, or I think what I'm saying is they won't even do it as a hobby. Do you know that kind of way? Forget about the full time. I think that there's people out there that would love to be singer-songwriters on a part-time basis, just for the crack.
Okay, yeah.
But wouldn't do it because, fucking hell, like you'd be seen to be trying to do something new. I know back in the day, Pat O'Reilly, Kevin Booth, Rory Coogan, and a couple of other people, Kev Mulvey, wrote raps. And there was an era there in Navan where rapping was a thing, and that was class. And I actually only brushed off, or actually we were at cards together, and Darren McElroy dusted off an old tune of Patter's.
Right, yeah.
An absolutely fantastic tune, and I've already said it to Patter, and I'm going to publish it on my
no
platform.
way, will you
I'm
let
going
you?
to
Yeah,
release it, like, basically. Voluntary Redundancy was the name of the tune.
Oh,
So I'm going to essentially release that on this platform. I might include that as the 40th, actually.
That'd be
Not
good.
just that.
Mulvey
but as
has a
part
great
of
one
it.
as well.
Mulvey has loads of great
Class
ones.
one, like.
So does Booty. So,
I don't think it was Booty. It was
well, Booty definitely did write a few raps back
Did
in
he,
the day.
yeah?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
I didn't know that. I knew it was Dave McLean.
McLean would have done as
yeah,
well.
he did a couple of good ones.
But you know what happened to all those lads? They, in inverted commas, grew up.
yeah.
Like, the worst thing you could possibly do is grow up.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way? Like, you can, and look, you have to kind of grow up and be an adult and kind of stand on your own 2 feet. And like, there's a lot comes with being a fully fledged adult. You shouldn't stay a child for the rest of your life, a kind of Peter Pan character.
Yeah.
I hate those people. The people that say, "Oh, I'm still the same guy I was when I was 17."
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a dumb fuck.
Yeah.
But they grew up, and it's almost as if growing up is synonymous with. It's almost as if growing up is synonymous with.
Well, I suppose that, like, when the lads were doing them, they were all living in a gaff together, and they're all having, did no worries. There was no, well, I'm sure they had worries, but there was no families or kids or wives, and there was no other kind of responsibilities and stuff that got in the way that allowed you to be creative and that. Like, when you get into having families and all that, sometimes it's like it stifles your creativity because all of your focus is going on something else. Like,
but I think a part of that is you're surrounded by like-minded people, and then when you get married and you have kids, you're not surrounded by those people anymore.
Yeah.
So that kind of stifles creativity. But I think these days we can transcend that with the internet. Like, you can record either a podcast or a song or a rap or whatever, and not even share it with your friends. Just fucking bang it up online for the world to listen to.
Just put it up on YouTube, like.
Exactly,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and like, if people like it, they like it, and if they don't, they kind of don't.
Yeah.
That's another big thing. Like, you asked me to start, what have I kind of taken from the whole thing, basically, the last 6 months or so, and it's a mixture of what I've realised myself and what Blind Boy has been saying about the idea of feedback. He was only talking about it on today's one.
Yeah.
This idea of, basically don't listen to negative feedback, because fuck that, but also don't listen to positive feedback, because that's something that's affected me, and I've asked people for feedback all the time, but I'm thinking about not asking for the feedback and not putting up the email address. I'll leave it in the notes, so if someone wants to contact me, they can, but to do it just for me. Do you know that kind of way? To do it
like,
for
I presume
purely selfish reasons.
Every time you get feedback, you go, okay, that was good, I'll do more of that then.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, I
Even
remember,
if you don't really like it or you didn't like that element of it.
yeah, like Tony, your brother, actually only said it to me there a while ago, that one thing that he loved about the solo episodes was that, this idea that, Fran, what I love is, this is as he said it, what I love about it is I never know what you're going to say next.
Right, yeah.
And I don't, so that's
yeah.
kind of cool for me. But the next 2 or 3 after him having said that were probably more off the wall than they would have been.
Yeah.
And
naturally.
that,
like,
yeah, of course. But in a weird way, that was me kind of
pandering to the audience.
Pandering to him, and
Yeah.
and every so often, and I even mentioned it came up with Beef in the very first episode that we published. I said that, I keep thinking to myself, what do people want to hear? And Beef himself, as a proper creative person, he said, well, that's only kind of natural. Like, but my take on it then, as is now, is fuck other people, because if you're not doing it for yourself,
You'll end up like pop music. Like, so pop music
pretty
is,
much,
is
yeah,
packaged
popular,
in a way to give to
be
popular
popular,
people. Yeah. So, like, if you don't want that, then you just have to do it true to yourself. And if people love it, happy days. And if they don't, then happy days. It doesn't really matter, because you're not going to know either way if people love it or not. You're just going to do it, put it up, go on to the next one, do that, put it up. You're not going to be looking at the numbers or seeing how many people are downloading or even getting feedback. For all you know, no one could be listening to it, or a million people could be. You won't really know. As long if you're doing it for yourself, I think you'll get benefits out of it, a lot more benefits out of it.
No,
it'll be a lot more natural then, I think.
Yeah, no, big time. It'll be what it was supposed to be from the fucking start. And I think instead of going on and telling people what they should be doing, leading by example is a kind of a big thing.
Yeah.
And that was part and parcel of why I kind of uploaded that rap. It was to show people that, this will go up and it might be embarrassing and people might kind of be cringing on my behalf and whatever else, but a week will go by, 2 weeks will go by, 3 weeks will go by, and it'll be just something that
someone did,
something I did back then. No big deal. I'm not going to die of shame. It's just going to move on, like. But I suppose another thing that's been really beneficial about it is the kind of the personal development, and that's what a lot of
it's
been fucking it's mad. Like, and one of the things I'm really looking forward to about finishing the 40th thing is I'll probably take a month off doing the solo ones, and I'll do one conversation a week or whatever way it lands. But it'll be just to kind of digest what the fuck has happened.
Have you listened back to all the 40?
Yes.
39, you have, okay,
yeah.
That'd be cool if you didn't. And then went back and listened to them all and learn. You see what you learned then.
Oh, that'd be a level of anxiety now I don't think I'd be able to fucking bear. Because, like, you don't know what you're saying when you're saying it, and then when you finish it, you don't remember what you have said to you.
Of course, yeah.
For me, I've needed to listen back to just kind of go, whoa, wait a minute. And there's been a couple of pulls. There's been a couple that I didn't.
Have you?
Right.
Yeah.
There's been a couple that have been just maybe a bit too personal and a bit too much information. And
but that's it. Like when you're not really thinking about the audience or you're doing it for yourself, you're going to get personal because you're going to talk about what's personal to you. Like,
and there was a couple of times when I had something in my head to say, so just turn on the mic and I started talking. And then when I listened back to it, I was like, Jesus Christ, like, let's say myself had a row that morning. And then, later on that day, I'm going on about this guy, and he said this thing, and I felt this way, and it'd be so fucking obvious that I was talking about an interaction I had recently, and you don't want to be airing your fucking dirty laundry either,
Yeah.
But it's weird, you mentioned, I think, what was it about anxiety being
fake news for your mind?
Yes, exactly. Anxiety being fake news for your mind. I think the beauty of the 40 solo ones, or one of the beauties, is that was very, very, very anxiety inducing. Very.
I'd say so.
Very.
And I know you, like, so I knew every time you were uploading them, you were like, oh shit.
Yeah, big time.
Big
time. And especially for the rap and the fucking poetry and the speech to music and all that. Like, that was.
But you got great feedback for all them though. Like,
I did.
But for definitely the poem. When you put the poem up, I did. There was comments on Facebook there. I saw comments on there.
Did you?
Or people said it to me, and Catherine definitely said it to me.
People might be saying it to you. People, I don't think.
Maybe
that poem, right? That when I put up the words and without the audio, got 1 like, I think, from Alan Ludden.
No way.
End of.
Was
no comments, no nothing.
Maybe I shared something. Maybe I shared it and they were commenting on my post or something. I definitely saw people commenting, going, "Oh, no way, fair play to you."
No, because that's what I was saying earlier. Like that stuff, the creative stuff, silence.
No way.
Nothing like at this.
Maybe people go. Yeah, I think there's definitely a thing in Ireland. It's not begrudgery, but it's you don't kind of give compliments to people.
Big time,
like,
yeah.
You don't go,
yeah.
That was really well done. That was well written and really well delivered, and fair play to you. You never say that to people because I think we feel awkward when we do it. And I feel awkward if someone's giving me compliments on that. I feel awkward when I do it. Maybe people just we don't do it anymore.
Yeah, it's funny
anyway.
because that was anxiety inducing to put that much of your fucking self out there and kind of expose yourself to the world.
And
then just you'd hear a fucking pin drop. Like that's like you'd sooner get slated.
Yeah.
Like
at least you'd know then. Yeah.
But even if I got a couple of comments from people I knew or strangers that went, "Oh, you big loser writing poetry," I'd be straight back at you. And what have you done with your life? Fuck you.
Yeah.
You'd be able to get on the defensive.
You were so anxious about that. You had those. Again, you were building up the anxiety in your mind, so you had those answers ready to go. So if someone did go, "What the fuck are you at from?" You straight away had your answer.
Oh, boom! yeah.
So that's the you're building up the fake news, but no one did do that.
Yeah, nothing. No. Just is there an echo in here?
Yeah.
Is there an echo in
here? But
I
suppose is zero feedback good feedback? So no one did take the piss out of you. No one did say you were great.
See, again, this is where my fucking...
You don't know.
This is where mine goes into fucking
exciting,
overdrive.
yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, I'm a fucking... a drug advocating skinhead cage fighter. Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
So what are you... And because I'm not, you know, super famous, you can't really say shit to me on Facebook and not expect to bump into me outside Tesco someday.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking then as well, is like, maybe, like, I don't think I'm the most approachable of people. Maybe I'm wrong about that, I don't know, but
I'd say you will be now after this, but people will know you a lot more now. So I'd say even people that you would have went to school with, who you would have been a different person in school as well.
See, it's funny, I don't know who I know who I thought I was in school, but I don't know what other people thought of me in school.
Yeah.
And I think we all kind of suffer from that. You know, what other people think of us and what we think of ourselves probably are rarely the same, if ever.
Yeah.
That's a weird one, like, do you know what I mean? Because I think myself and Beef touched on this as well, this idea of your, what's it called, your mirror self, that you're never you. You're only ever, like, here now, you're not being you. You're being the Dave Webster that you think, I think you are. It's a weird one, but on that whole anxiety-inducing thing that I did, you know, pick an episode or pick all 39 of them, there's great utility in that being intentional. Do you know that kind of way? Like, I brought that anxiety on myself.
And dealt with it. And
I'm by far the better for it. Like, that didn't... It's not as if I was, you know, driving along and then... like, put it this way, if I had rapped that Eminem tune and had accidentally uploaded it, or someone else had uploaded it, or I, you know... Let's say I was doing something. Let's say I was uploading a podcast and accidentally uploaded that. Like, that would have been fucking far more terrifying.
You would have deleted it. If you put it up by accident, you would have deleted it.
Yeah, probably would have. Yeah. But there's something there about, and I think I've mentioned this before because Peterson mentions it. This idea about your the approach circuitry in your brain not being the same as your reactive circuitry. So, what way does it work? When you go looking for anxiety, so me uploading those 39 episodes, that was me essentially intentionally bringing anxiety on myself. That was a voluntary thing. I went out looking for anxiety, and you're using your approach mechanisms there, which use the good neurochemicals, the serotonin. So that's an exciting thing. So you get a little kind of a kick out of intentionally doing that. But it's when you're avoiding something and it comes after you.
Unintentionally comes in then.
Yeah, that's when it hits you with the nasty neurochemicals, and that's when you get kind of depressed and that. So there's a benefit for intentionally kind of putting yourself out there.
Just challenging yourself.
Yeah, big time. Big time.
I'm just going to go for a lash.
Yeah, no, walk away. I'm gonna plug my Patreon.
Yeah, do,
yeah. Yeah, so while Dave goes there and relieves himself, I'm going to fill the bit of dead air here while he's gone and plug the old Patreon. So www.patreon.com/offthelead. If you're unfamiliar with Patreon, Patreon is a way that you can support more of what you like, essentially, but on a real kind of personal basis. So if you know somebody who's in a band, for example, or if you know somebody who has... I suppose Patreon's ideal for creative people more so, but if you know somebody who writes poetry or maybe writes a blog or whatever, something that you enjoy. So I suppose the blog is a good one. Darren McCann, a past guest and friend of the show, has a great blog called Up the Road. Is it called Up the Road? I think it's called Up the Road. And if you're reading that, you know, I think he uploads one a week. If you're reading that every week and you're really enjoying it, wouldn't it be great to, you know, throw him €1 a month or €1 a week or a once-off donation of a tenner? Now, I don't think he has a Patreon account set up, but if you know who I'm talking about, if you even Google Darren McCann Up the Road blog or cycling blog, you'll find him. I'm sure he has an email address or an info or contact me section here on his website. Tell him to pull his finger out and get a Patreon account set up, because I'm sure he has regular readers, And I'm sure a percentage of those regular readers would do the decent thing and throw them a euro or two for the effort. Because when you think about it, if you get a little kick out of it, and if you look forward to the next one, and it's kind of essentially part of your life, throw the man a once-off fee of a £5 or a tenner, or give him €1 a month or something. Because the more people that do that, the more likelihood there are of more people doing it, of him continuing to do it. And as I've kind of said before in the solo episodes, be the change you want to see in the world. Like the things that you do on a day-to-day basis, like myself and Dave only mentioned there, about an hour or so ago, we have the capability to change things. That you do something small here, or you might say a complimentary thing to somebody, or you might, I don't know, any little thing that you do, the benefits of that are very far-reaching. And Dave, you just saved me from waffling endlessly.
Still waffling.
Still talking shy.
I'm still waiting for someone just to not come back. I'm just going to go for a piss for a minute. Where the fuck is he going?
Yeah, it'll be a fucking 45-hour long podcast of me just talking endless shit.
Any second now he's going to come
back. What are your views on video recording it? Have you thought of that, or does it appeal to you? Or
I don't think you'll get many people watching it. Like, many Joe Rogans have you watched?
Not that many.
I think people are moving away from watching TV anyway.
Yes.
So it's much more. I think it's difficult enough to get 2 or 3 hours of people's time when you can put it on your car and the radio, or you can listen to it running or cycling or walking around.
Yeah, but even with Rogan's, like Rogan gets 100 million downloads a month, but only maybe 100,000 views on YouTube.
Yeah.
But when it's kind of happening, why not record it? Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah, I suppose. You could, but
would it be worth the effort? Or
I don't know. Know.
You're not mad to get a fucking video recorded.
No.
By any stretch of the imagination.
No. Like I watch a good bit of TV. I like TV. Well, I would watch a lot of like Netflix or documentaries. It's how I kind of relax. But I would listen to mainly podcasts, and there are a lot of podcasts that are on YouTube and that as well. And there's loads of like video bloggers or vloggers or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
And I don't really subscribe to them or watch them, because I think when I'm watching TV, it's kind of to relax or to unwind or to get a bit of non-fiction into you as well, like to kind of relax. Like, so for me, I wouldn't like, I know Blind Boy is kind of working on getting his up, and I'll probably watch a couple of them, but it's not going to be instead of listening to it.
Yeah, I wouldn't be. When you put it like that, like, would I watch Blind Boy do what he does? Not at all. No. Like, having said that, he doesn't.
What more would you get from it, from watching it?
Yeah, I don't know. Being perfectly honest, if anything. Now, having said that, I have watched a few of Rogan's.
But you weren't watching it because of the guest he had on, like.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Oh, definitely. Like, there's no. But you see, with Blind Boy, it's weird because he'd be wearing a plastic bag in his face, so that kind of.
You won't see his facial expression.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's like watching two people behind a screen. Like, why would you fucking? Yeah. Why would you bother there at all? But I don't know. There's something cool about being able to, like with Rogan's one. Even if you didn't watch it all, I think sometimes I like watching it for even 20 seconds just to see the cut of the other person.
Yeah.
Kind of how they hold themselves, and
Yeah, I suppose any of the guys that you've got on that I didn't know, like when you put up the image of them, it really helps, like, because you can kind of see what they look like, and you kind of make up your own kind of thoughts on how they would carry themselves just from a photograph or something, So I suppose if you're seeing someone, how they carry themselves or how they react to questions or conversations, it might add something to it, but
it's weird. The photo is essential, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, and it's really weird, because I think most people will know. Most people will have had somebody that they've been listening to on the radio for years, and then they saw them, and it was just like, whoa, wait
you don't
a
look
minute,
like you sound.
What the fuck? Like I remember listening. I used to listen to a lot of Adrian Kennedy back in the day. The phone show, the late night phone show, because there was swearing on it. That's pretty much why I watched it. 12 or 13 at the time, like listening to people effing and blinding them on the radio. Like
usually.
But I was listening to that for like a year or two or so, and saw Adrian Kennedy on the telly, like, and stopped listening to him immediately.
Yeah, that's
this
mad,
half bald, curly hair, denim wearing muppet, like he wasn't what I
had that
pictured,
with a band as well. I was mad into Block Party for a few months anyway. I was like, oh, these are class, and then I went to see them live, and they don't have a picture of themselves on the album or anything, like, and it was kind of, I think the internet was around, but I obviously didn't Google them or whatever. I went to see them live at Oxygen or something, and the lead singer was black, and I had no idea that he was black. Like, I was like, oh, I wonder when they're coming on, like, and then he came on to start singing. I was like, no way! I'm like,
it's a cover act, is that right?
Yeah. I'm like, kind of, and like it was just a shock. I just didn't expect that, like, but it was kind of cool. And I was like, oh, all right, yeah, a couple more things kind of made sense then as well, like other kind of references that they were doing.
Of course,
like,
yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it's funny that, like,
and like, he didn't, like, you know the way some people will sound obviously white or obviously Indian or whatever. He didn't sound black, like he didn't kind of use a lot of black lingo that a lot, and the British black lingo would be quite obvious as well. He didn't do any of that, like, so it wasn't kind of obvious. It was funny. Couldn't believe it.
Yeah, no, it's mad, and it's one thing that I've done kind of by accident or entirely by accident. I think that there's a lot of people listening to me, people who, you know, have been listening to the whole Off the Lead thing, whether it's the conversations or the solo episodes. There's no real pictures of me. Now, if you wanted to, you'd find it.
Yeah.
Like,
I used to think of that.
If you wanted to, you'd probably, like, it wouldn't take a fucking rocket scientist to go and.
No, but you still have to do it. You'd have to. Well, if they didn't know you and all, no, well, I suppose you were putting them up on your own Facebook at the start. So
originally,
initially they would have got it there, but if they're getting them just from the Off the Lead Facebook page, they wouldn't know what you look like. You don't have any of your own personal images.
Don't think so. A couple of videos of me getting out of the lake, but that's kind of, you know, there's a lot going on there. Do you know, kind of way? And I would have had a big beard back then, you know, there's no actual photograph of me really on it. Now again, that it kind of happened. It's happened by accident, but it's a kind of happy coincidence. You know, that kind of way. Because I like, not that I'm afraid of getting super famous and not being able to go anywhere, like, oh, you're the Off the Lead guy, like, oh, not again, god damn it, just trying to get the groceries, man. I'm a long way away from that happening, like. But it's funny too, though. We were mentioning there about doing it for me, like just doing it, like, and not forgetting about other people. I think there's about 70 people listening to pretty much everything, so when something goes up, it's more or less guaranteed to get kind of 70 downloads, and I think it's 12 patrons, so like 12 patrons out of 70 people, like, that's fucking phenomenal.
I was saying to you, like, remember in school there's about 30 in a class, so two and a bit classrooms full of students. That's your kind of weekly audience. Like, that's a lot of people.
That's mad,
like,
actually, when you say that. Yeah, 2 full classrooms of what we would have had in secondary. Yeah.
Like, and if anyone and I was trying to think of it in numbers and to kind of think, because I'm used to that. Like, you could be at a gig in the Olympia and you'd be like, there was 15,000 people. Like, I don't know. Or, there was only 300. Yeah. And I was like, in school, there's about 30 people in every class in school. So if you've, say, 90. That's 3 classes. So if you have 200 listeners, that's all of your year in school.
Yeah, that is mad, isn't it?
You know, get all them into the gym or whatever, and that was in Patsy, and that'd be jam packed full of people. Like, that's a lot of people. Like,
yeah, it's weird, but the knock on effect, like, even just forget about the 200, the 70 people that are listening, like, like we mentioned it earlier on, like, the, you know, butterfly flaps its wings or that, but, you know, you've even known someone, like, let's say, forget about Off the Lead and this whole thing and you being on or haven't been on before or any of that, and think of some other friend of yours who mentions that they're, you know, you meet them and they've got their headphones in and you say, oh, what are you listening to? Oh, it's a podcast. Okay, what podcast is it? Oh, it's actually some lad down the road, I know him, he set up his own one. If that's all that people are hearing, and they don't get any of the details, they don't know what the motivation behind it is, they don't know anything about it other than there's just some guy I know who set up his own podcast. That in itself makes a difference, because it puts having your own podcast and doing your own thing a thing, like.
Yeah, and makes it much more accessible. Like, so even if that person, say in that scenario, was thinking about, you know, making a piece of art out of or making a table out of a piece of wood, whatever it is, yeah, like they're far more likely to do it. Like I think you used the story as well when you, Fionn heard you on the radio.
Yes,
and he heard you on the radio, and that was like it's much more like the radio now is much more accessible to him. Like, we were growing up, the radio was for superstars. Like,
yeah,
you know,
of course.
You didn't come across the radio on the car or whatever.
Yeah, famous people were on the radio.
Yeah. So it was inaccessible, like, or you had to be famous if you were on there. So, I'm not famous, so I'll never be on the radio. And I was saying to you, Paul, previous guest, was he's doing a documentary on a vasectomy doctor that was based in Ireland there in the 90s, and he got commissioned anyway to do this documentary, and myself and Tony were extras in it there last week, and it was a cool experience. I must get you involved in the next one, like just seeing behind the scenes literally of what goes on in the movies and documentaries, and all the action and the, you know, the clipboard and all that kind of goes on, like. But that's going to be shown on RTE, like he's doing it for RTE. So Summer's going to see, my little girl Summer's going to see me on telly in something that her uncle Godfather directed and produced. You know, that by the time she's 2, she'll be able to see TV as being accessible to her, like, you know,
it's beyond her horizon.
Yeah,
big time.
It's not for only famous people get on there, or you know, superstars get on TV. And I was like, no, my dad and my uncle were on it, like, you know, so it's much more accessible to people as well, like, you know.
No, big time, yeah, absolutely. And I think this idea of like, even what I've done with my little platform and having people on and talking about different things, it's brought, I don't know, in a weird way, it's made conversations accessible, and do you know that kind of way? It's weird. Like,
do you think though that, like, maybe we're not kind of not outliers? I can't think of the word, like, but maybe there are a lot more people having conversations than we think, or are we right? Like, are there not enough people having enough conversations, or these sort of conversations?
Yeah, I don't think people are having them at all. I think most people, at a push, most people have one person that they invariably end up talking about something deep and meaningful at.
Yeah, whenever they meet up.
Whenever they meet up at a wedding or whatever it is. Or maybe it's a childhood friend, or maybe it's someone they see all the time, and maybe they're flat out having kind of deep and meaningful conversations.
Or their wife or husband or something.
I think it's with that one person. Yeah. I think it's with that one person, and I've said it a couple of times that it's well known that we have a problem talking about our mental health. But I think that's wrong-headed. I don't think we have a problem talking about our mental health. I just think we have a problem with talking.
In general, yeah.
Just full stop, like. Yeah. I don't think we talk about it.
And like, as you were saying, like, we're a country of literaries and poets, and like, we have like the gift of the gab, like, you know, we have, like, everyone knows Irish people as being great conversationalists, and you know, it's kind of sad in a way that we're losing that a lot, like, you know, that
I think we're losing our Irishness, because that kind of that gift of the gab and that literary culture and all that, and even our nationalism, and, you know, the pride of being Irish and all that.
It's going a bit like,
I think so, yeah. I think, like, we're becoming westernised. Like,
yeah,
we're becoming mini America.
Yeah, there was an ad there on TV, I think it was for one of the Wing Generation companies, but they used a speech by John F. Kennedy when he was talking about Ireland, like, and he was saying, for such a small country to reach all 4 corners of the world, like, so there's Irish people everywhere, is phenomenal, like, and to have such a huge influence on those countries, like, is massive. And we've kind of, I think we've lost that in a way. And even there, actually, in the conversation yesterday with Michael, like, he was saying that, you know, he went off abroad with mates and had a great time. And I was thinking back to when I did my own travels, and Graham, who I now have a business with 2 of us went to Australia, like, and we always gravitated to Irish people, and when we gravitated to Irish people, we gravitated to people from Navan. You know, so you know the people that you kind of like and you get on with, and you know the people that you're going to have the best kind of time with, like, and most of the time it was Irish people. All the time, actually, it was Irish people, other than, you know, friends of Irish people that were there a long time, or partners of them. It was always Irish people. And we have this kind of, like there's a great bond between Irish people abroad. If you meet anyone if you're abroad anywhere and you meet Irish people, most of them are going to help you out, and if you need help, or they'll.
But you see, our Irishness comes out in us when we're abroad.
Way more, like way more. You get
way?
way more. There's a funny thing myself, and when we got our apartment, like we're like, all right, we'll put up the tricolour on our YouTube poster. It's like, no, I wouldn't do that.
Picture of Bobby Sands somewhere. Get it up quick.
Put up the declaration up there.
Yeah, hilarious.
You get more Irish as you go abroad, and I like to go abroad as often as I can, and I love seeing the different cultures. I go to Vegas a lot, and what I love about there is it's a real melting pot of all of the different American cultures in one place. So if you go to New York, you get to see what New York is like and what New Yorkers are like. Yes. But in Vegas, you get to see what Texans are like, what New Yorkers are like, and Deep South people are like. Spot. Yeah, it's mass. And you'll end up at a table with a guy wearing and he'll be wearing a cowboy hat, he'll be chewing tobacco, and he'll be from Texas.
Saying y'all. Yeah. And
like
he'll have a big bag of cash from his oil fields the cunt has.
Yeah, and it's but when you'll be able to spot the Irish people as well, and sometimes you'll end up beside Irish people at a table or whatever it is, and you'll always have great crack, and you always bring out, and you'll always know someone that they know, and they'll know someone and that whole Irishness really comes out of you when you go abroad. And we lose that a bit here. I think a lot of it, and this year, as you know, I'm a Gaeilgeoir as well, so I went to Irish primary school, and loads of people are saying, Irish, it's a dead language, why would you bother learning? It's that's the core of Irishness.
Yeah, it's our mythology in a sense, part of us.
And people are saying, we should just get rid of that. And if you get rid of that and it stops becoming an essential language in schools, all our Irishness is gone then. It's in France everyone speaks French, in Spain everyone speaks Spanish, here we speak English, and some people speak Irish, and if they do, it's really fucking hard for them to actually speak Irish on a daily basis, and that being able to speak the language of your home country has to be the most essential part of being Irish, or else you're not really Irish, I don't think, if you don't really have a good grasp of Irish, or even love Irish, or even...
You're certainly not as Irish as you could be.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way? Because I think I made the point to Anthony Murphy from Mythical Ireland when we were talking about the Irish mythology. We are of that. Do you know that kind of we're born and bred from that. It's part of us. It's our history. It's almost like our birthright in a way.
Yeah.
And the language is the same.
It's just the way that I think in school the way it's taught isn't taught in the way that you would speak it. But I suppose that's the way you learn any language. But it's not. It's not. I don't think it's. I'm not sure the curriculum now, but I don't think it's taught in a way to encourage you to be able to have a conversation with someone.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I think the oral part of it now is a lot more. I think for the Leaving Cert, I think it could be even 50-50, which is massive. So if you can get half of your marks from being able to have a conversation with someone, that's a big step. Where I think when we were doing it in Leaving Cert, I think it might have been 15% or something.
Why isn't it 100%?
100%, yeah. Every language should be like that.
You're teaching people to speak the language, so why not test them
on how well they can
speak the language? Do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
Because...
And that automatically would change the curriculum then to be able to have it in a way, so the whole curriculum will change then to allow people to be able to speak it more. And if you can speak it more, you'll do it more. And you'll have more conversations in Irish. And even if it's just little words here or there, and you can have a conversation. My mum's an Irish speaker as well, so we would oftentimes have conversations in Irish, particularly if my dad is around. He's English, so he doesn't know what we're saying. So we'd often, if we don't want him to know what we're saying, we'll say a few words in Irish. But it's hard for me as well. Sometimes I can understand it a lot better than I can speak it.
Of course,
which is just because I haven't spoken it enough. And I think it definitely needs to be something that we should encourage more, so not just encouraging and provoking conversations, but in Irish as well if we can.
Do you know something? I might start dropping in the odds
bit of Gaeilge.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because even little things, I like I don't even know if I'm using this term right, but the colloquial nature of it. So saying things like "Cad é an scéal?"
Yeah.
What's the story?
Yeah.
Not, what's the Mo Kenealock of the fucking whatever the fuck? Do you know that kind of way? Because that's my memory of being taught in school. You know, me tu shin shi shin shiv shid. Whatever the fuck all that means. And we rhyme this shit off like it.
Yeah, you don't even learn it. You just regurgitate it out then when you want it. You don't even know how to do it in a sentence. Like, you know, it's a shame. It's a shame. Like,
no, it is, because there's something really valuable in having that, because it's
like,
it's part of us.
Like. Whatever about now, like, but in 50 years, like, if there's no Irish language, like, it's dead then. Like, and I think a massive part of being Irish is the language. Like, it's the essence of every culture is their language. Like, you know, and if you lose the language, I think it's.
But you lose, and this is coming from someone, you know, who can get by. Like, I probably know as much French as I know Irish. You know, that kind of way. Not a whole pile of either. But I would imagine that if you lose the Irish language, or me that doesn't have it to lose really, you lose the sense of humour that comes in that language. Because I believe, like, you'd often hear people say, I've a great joke about that, but I only know it in Italian and it doesn't really translate to English. You know, that kind of way. Like, there's a scene in, I think there's a scene in Goodfellas where the mother of one of the mafia bosses, she says something in Italian, and the lads speaking Italian go, like, the Italians kind of go, yeah, that was a lovely sentiment. And she turns to the guy in English and translates it for him. And she goes like, yeah, it's just not the same. Do you know, it needs to be in Italian. It doesn't rhyme, or it doesn't whatever. And like, I think that Irish kind of sense of humour, and I mean real Irish, not the 2018 Irish sense of humour, but, you know, what it really meant to be Irish. Because it's weird, we forget that. Like, we forget this. We have our own language. We are completely fucking different to, you know, even England, which is just a stone's throw away. Because I think there's a narrative now that we're all the same, and that there's no difference.
There's a drive to make us all the same, like, you know.
There is, like, and that's wrong-headed.
Like, it's annoying me now a little bit that everything is America and Europe. You know, so we're in Europe, like, you know, we're just kind of seen as part of Europe now, like, you know, it's like, no, we're totally different to even England, to Wales, to, you know, as far over as Croatia. Like, we're all really different, like, so we all shouldn't be blanketed with the same sort of, the Europeans against the Americans, like, you know. It's like, Jesus Christ, like, that's whatever it is, 12 different countries against one country, or versus a different country. Like, there's so many different cultures within all those different countries, and you
could throw in maybe the Russians and the Chinese, and that's the world practically. You know, there's Americans, there's Europeans, Russians, Chinese, and you know, kind of everybody else, as if everybody else is the same, or any of the first 4 or 5 are the same. Like, but I think there is a real drive to make us all the same, and that it comes from, it's well intended, I think. Do you know, that kind of way? Like, the intention is
it's closing borders, and it's making borders, you know, less of a border, I suppose, but you're losing individual kind of states and countries and that then, like, you know.
Yeah, no, big time. I think our differences should be celebrated, as opposed to, you know, eradicated. Like there's this, I was chatting to, it actually came up in cards there the other day with Block. One of the lads that we play cards with was saying that he was in work, open plan office type place, and someone came over to him, and I think they were new, and they had something, and they were chatting away, but this new guy that came over to our mates basically wanted to ask my mate the name of somebody else on the floor. And he's like, what's your man's name over there? And my mate goes, which fella? He's like, your man down there at the end. There's loads of people down there at the end. The tall guy. They're all kind of tall. Oh, the guy with the kind of short hair. They all have kind of short hair. Oh, your man, he's 4 seats down. The black guy. The only black guy in the building. Yeah. Like, and there's this, I know people are just terrified of saying the wrong thing. And again, that an aversion I think people have of coming on is kind of, is maybe saying, you know, the black guy when they, oh shit, I mean, what's the, you know, they're afraid of getting it wrong. And I think that if you're,
what's the PC way of saying that? Like,
and I think if you're thinking of the PC way of saying something, that means you're a bit of a big racist. Do you know that kind of way?
Because you're not saying what you actually think then.
Yeah, and if you're afraid of, you know, coming across as being racist, then you're a racist. Do you know that kind of way? Like, you can say racist things and not mean them and not be racist. That's just a slip of the tongue, and you can kind of apologize for that. But if you're kind of going, I don't really want people to know my thoughts on black people or travelers or you know, people of a different religion, like that's real racism and bigotry, like. Yeah, no, it's a weird one, but what would you like to see, getting back to the solo ones? Where do you think the solo ones are going? Now, you that's listened to the 40 of them, or actually, here's one for you. Do you like the, what's the word, the way that they're not scripted, or would you like to see a scripted one? Because that's something I'm thinking of doing.
I was thinking of that as well, because I'm very orderly, so I like to have the orderly, and but I do like the kind of chaos of it as well, like, you know, because you do, like, you'd be on about something and then randomly you'll just fly in with something else, and that'll be the best part of it, like, you know, whereas if it wasn't scripted, you wouldn't, or if it was scripted, you wouldn't have come in with that part, you know, that thought wouldn't.
But if it was really scripted, you would.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way?
So if you had an hour conversation, what I was thinking was, if you had, say, an hour solo podcast with yourself, and then edited it down. I know you don't like editing, but if you just let it flow, or try to find as many times as you got into flow, and then edit those into a half an hour or whatever it is, that might be a way of doing it as well.
But when I said scripted, I suppose you could include doing what you said there. It wouldn't be scripted, but, you know, basically producing it.
Yeah. I think that'd be good, because, like, at the end of the day, it depends if that's what you want to do. If you are doing that then because you'll get more listeners, or you'll get more content.
Yeah, it's for the wrong reason.
But I think you would naturally get more listeners if you did, say, an hour a week or an hour a month, whatever you plan on doing, on a solo podcast, that you would get more listeners in it for an hour. Because if people are going, oh, geez, like, it's 3 hours long, I don't know if I'll be able to get the time to do that, like, so they're less likely to start it. Whereas if it's an hour, you're going, right, I'll probably have an hour and a half drive here now, so I'll put that on, you listen to that, then you definitely will get more listeners if it's more structured that way and on a regular basis, like, you know. I think that will work well.
Yeah, it's funny because there's a weird dichotomy here. I want it to be just me doing whatever I do, and that's great, but I want to kind of change, like, I want to provoke conversations, and there's a bit of a, I suppose, a social activist in me. So I there's great use in me doing whatever I do for my own selfish benefit. That's great, but I do also want to do things for other people. I want to make people aware of certain things and help people, fucking essentially. Like, and if you're doing that, if you're trying to help people, and there's only fucking 20 people listening, do you know that kind of way? There's certain aspects of it. So I suppose this is what I'm just thinking out loud now. What I might do is do both. So do the solo ones that are just me fucking talking out my ass, and have the conversations as normal. But then maybe get a portfolio of produced ones. So almost like, let's say if I was to do 10 half-hour produced podcast, you'd nearly make like almost like an album. Do you know that kind of way? Like a standalone thing that you could then either promote, or you could then, you know, ask people to tell people about. And you know, you wouldn't have to listen to it from the start. You could just, you know, each one of them would be standalone. It'd be produced. It'd be half an hour long. There'd be a structure to it. Do you know that kind of way? I think
that, but definitely with the structure, you'll be even more motivating. So if you just sit down and record, and you did 2 hours, saying, you go, that was really good there, this is really good, and you can kind of mash it together, whatever you need to do, and get a half an hour out of it, or an hour, whatever it is, I think you'll find the moments that are really motivating there. So if you really want to motivate people, you kind of have to give it to them in direct kind of terms as well, like, you know, and short, snappy, kind of, you know, half an hour long, not half an hour isn't short, but it'd be shorter than a 3 hour conversation. If you can, so your main goal is to motivate people and get people doing, like, having conversations and kind of getting out of their comfort, just doing.
Having people doing.
I think you're going to need to have it fairly regular, so at least once a week, and just keep on top of it all the time, but have motivation as your topic all the time.
But you see, this is the other thing. I could set up a podcast called the Motivation Podcast, and just release it separate to this. If I wanted, do you know that kind of way?
Yeah.
And the beauty of,
but I think the conversations always work well as well. Like with the solos intertwine with the conversations as well. So
no, you're right. But again, and this is the beauty of fucking having someone to fucking bounce the ball back to, because you get a bit of clarity. What I might do is, because I've already kind of done it under the Off the Lead banner, there's the conversations. There's not just the solo ones. There's the 1 to 40 solo ones.
Yeah.
So maybe the next one will be 1 to 10, and it might take me the year to do it on motivation.
Yeah, but you take
But
a
each
topic
one of them, you take a topic and you fucking produce the shit out of it, and
that'll help keep you
perfect,
focused as well, to keep the focus on motivation, because like there's loads of times you've gone off the motivation track.
Big
so
time,
you've kind of gone into what your thoughts are on abortion or different kind of topics, where some people who want the motivation, oh fuck, I wish he'd just keep on talking about the motivation. That was great. That got me up, that got me doing 20 press-ups a day or whatever it is, and maybe that's what people need more of, is the motivation to kick up the arse. And I think that is what people need, is the kick up the arse. That
it's that initial push, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because after that, like if you're relying on someone to keep you continuously motivated, you're kind of fucked.
Yeah.
But if all you need is the boot out the door for you to kind of do it yourself, and maybe you'll come back for an additional boot.
You'll be topping up then, yeah. So if they can make the initial decision to do whatever they're going to do, and then they're still listening to you weekly, it's keeping them going, it's keeping them motivated, and keeping them kind of working,
It's mad though, because this is the beauty of having these conversations out loud and with somebody else, and I think this is what people are missing from not having people to talk to, because I've mulled over in my head what the solo podcasts are, how I want to kind of motivate people, how I want to provoke conversations and initiate change and do all those things. And I've thought and talked to myself in my own head about this stuff endlessly. But I have a 5-minute conversation with yourself on this topic, and all of a sudden the pieces start falling together.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people are missing out on.
But and we have always had these conversations all the time. And you still have it all going on in your head all the time. So you're already verbalizing a lot of your thoughts anyway. So you can imagine what people, if they have all these thoughts and never, not even on a monthly basis, have a decent conversation with someone, how those thoughts just end up piling up on top of each other all the time. And that's generally how you would get anxiety as well.
You can't see through it. You're just
you're still experiencing anxiety and having all these thoughts in your head and getting it straight just by having conversations, and you're having conversations all the time. So people who don't have any at all, like how much of a need it is for them to verbalize those thoughts and to speak with people and to converse, have a conversation and find people that you can have like-minded discussions with,
No, but big time. I couldn't agree more, and I don't think it's any accident that not only did the two of us start our own businesses, but we actually, as it happened, started them more or less at the same time.
Yeah.
It's because we've been evolving independently together, if that makes sense, over time. And it's another really important thing that you mentioned. I've said before that we don't have a mental health problem. We don't have a problem talking about mental health. We have a problem talking, full stop. The benefits of talking is that you'll clear things in your head, and you'll be able to make some fucking progress. You'll be able to kind of
make clarity. It clarifies what you're thinking in your head. So you might have a business idea in your mind, or you might have something that you're thinking of doing, and you can be thinking about it, and then you tell someone, this is what I'm thinking of doing, and straight away, that's it. I now that I've spoke it and I've said it out there, it makes sense, I'm going to do it. So if you're not doing that, if you're not speaking to someone, and we've done that, both of our businesses, they're not related at all, but we know so you're saying, okay, I'm thinking of expanding into this or reducing the amount of this. We kind of know, I would know the end benefits of that, or the ins and outs. I wouldn't know the ins and outs of it, but I'd have a good idea. So even just having someone to go, oh yeah, but what about this? Oh yeah, geez, I never thought of that.
Yeah, because the essence is still the same. The businesses are entirely, they couldn't possibly be more different. Yeah. But the essence is the same. And we only spoke about this relatively recently. I was on the phone this morning to the company that I buy my boxes from. And I mentioned to you that I don't speak to them the same way that I spoke to them 2.5 years ago when I started the business. Because when I rang them up originally, it was like, hi, what are your minimum order quantities? And
would you mind if I bought some?
Pretty much, yeah. Can I please?
Yeah.
And now it's, what do you mean my delivery is not going to be here till Wednesday? I need it fucking Tuesday, and if you don't get it here Tuesday, I'm going to another fucking supplier, like. And there's that kind of progress and evolution, because you've literally only recently expanded your business by moving to a much bigger unit. Like, it must be twice the size, if not more, is it?
Yeah, twice anyway, yeah.
Tell people who don't know, where are you, Dave?
Just behind Supermax on the Navan Road, coming out of Trim or going into Trim.
There we go, get the plug in.
Trim Retail Park, yeah.
So you've done that expansion. As it just so happens, I've had my expansion. My business has practically trebled since the start of the year, and I'm looking to essentially take over what I can of the microgreen industry in Ireland. How that'll pan out now, I don't know. Maybe I'll be looking for a fucking job in the next podcast. But I'm trying to be the commander of my own ship again, and kind of take my own advice and do it before someone else does it to me. But anyway, we both did that at around the same time, because again, 2.5 odd years in business, you grow into the role. Do you know that kind of way? It takes
that amount of time as well to get your foothold and to get your market share. So you have a market share in it, and it usually takes whatever time, but it can take a couple of years anyway to get your foothold in the market, and to know the different suppliers, and to meet different people, and to know the different kind of ins and outs of it. And then you're starting over again nearly, like, you're starting to do new deals. But
it's new, it's a fresh thing. You have to keep it fresh.
Yeah, like when we moved to the new premises, like all of our overheads came down, because I knew that, okay, when we're moving, I now have to cancel one contract or finish out another contract and start another. But I had more bargaining power this time, like, so even with the likes of the electricity, like, I knew that, okay, we were on a certain rate, but now we're moving into new premises that I can negotiate a better rate. And even with the credit card machine, doing the same with that. So you can literally take all of your overheads and be a bit more aggressive with it, because you know the market, and you know what your expenses are, and how much different things are going to cost you, and you just have a better overall business sense of where your business is going than you did at the very start. But yeah, it takes a couple of years to get there.
But the thing about the business is, though, you're constantly monitoring the business. You can't kind of forget about it and just go to work and do your thing, because you won't be selling enough bikes, or you won't be selling enough fucking microgreens or whatever it is. So you're constantly focusing on it, you're constantly thinking about it, and you're constantly progressing it, and there's progression. So you're in business 2.5 years now. You said, you've not that you became complacent, but you probably got a little bit bored, did you? Where you were, what you've been doing. Yeah. Time to expand, time for something new. The same thing essentially, but bigger and better. And I think that business people really benefit from that. But I think that though most people, they don't do that with their own life.
Yeah.
They're not monitoring it. They're not kind of keeping an eye on the bottom line of their own life like a business person would.
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way? So people don't generally know. I put it this way: I would very much doubt that most people would know what percentage of their income goes on food, say, or goes on enjoying themselves, or goes on whatever. But you know how much you're spending on bikes, and how much you're selling them for, and what percentage, the light and the heat and the wages make up of your business. And you're always,
but it transfers into your personal life as well.
Of course, it does.
And your personal life will transfer in as well. Like, so you'll take the benefits from what you learn from your business into your personal life. Like, so even if your electricity bill for your own house, like, you can, then that you have a bit more bargaining power with them, or that you can kind of shop around and get the better deals as well. You kind of try and make it work for your personal life as well.
No, big time. 'Cause I think it's just so important that you kind of take stock of where you are personally. Where, and even with your work and your life, and just in general, because I think life, it flies past people, most ourselves included. Like, but I think,
should you see yourself as a business? So you see if you picture I'm only thinking out loud now, but if you think of yourself as a business, and that everything else that you're working with is either a supplier or a customer or something like that, you can kind of build yourself up as a business as well, to keep on growing yourself as a business,
No, absolutely, because you look at your business, a fundamentally important part of yours and mine and most businesses is, let's say, sales. So the more sales that you, me, or any business gets, the better. So you put things in place to increase sales, and that might be a team building exercise for your staff, or it could be incentives or whatever, but you'll do things to encourage what makes the business thrive.
Yeah.
But in your own personal life, you don't really do things to encourage, your own life being better. It's a weird one, but again,
it is,
these type of.
I don't think you've kind of brought it up as well. We're not selfish enough with our own lives. Like
we're not nearly selfish enough, and there's a weird dichotomy there. I think true pathological selfishness is the way forward. To be psychopathically selfish. I genuinely mean this. Yeah. If I want to be the most fulfilled, most happy, most energetic, most be everything that I can be. If I truly want that, it means that herself has to have the best life ever.
Yeah.
And that my kids have the best life ever. And that my mom and my brothers and sisters and friends are
you won't
made.
get there if that isn't the case already.
Of course you won't. Yeah. Of course you won't. So that's what I mean when, pure, almost psychopathic selfishness is a really beneficial thing, because I see it all the time with people who you would call selfless. People who are like completely selfless and will bend over backwards to accommodate everybody around them. They certainly don't tend to be people that I would aspire to.
No, but oftentimes they would be fulfilled. They're often quite happy. Like, they would be.
They are, but there's a weird one there though, because they're doing what they want to do.
Anyway. Yeah.
Do you know that kind of way? They love being selfless. So they're being selfless all the time. So there's a selfishness in being selfish. Selfless, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah. It's a weird one, but it's just, I don't know, a topic that it never really comes up. Do you know that kind of way? Like, and when it does come up, it comes up in the form of self-help books and these self-help gurus and these kind of fad things. And like, has the idea of my solo podcast, has the element of self-help, have you
sit back at the ready when you usually do?
Yeah,
you kind of when it's going down that line. Yeah.
Do you know?
I suppose if you were to put it into a genre of a specified list of genres, it could fit in there. Like,
I'm glad you said could.
It could, yeah, but it wouldn't be where it would naturally fit. Like, I suppose some people would look at it and go, I get a lot of help out of it. Like, so it could be a self-help to someone.
Yes.
It's just, it's that whole self-help thing kind of has a bad rap, but anything that helps you is self-help in a way. Like, so if you read a book, if you watch a documentary, or if you watch a TV series and you get relaxation out of it, or you learn something new about it, that's self-help.
Nuclear war, but if you get a benefit out of it, absolutely, 100%. But it's funny that you said the genre, because I've been thinking, what does Off the Lead kind of fit into as a genre, and I don't know if it's something new. It certainly doesn't seem to pigeonhole into something, because it could be self-help, but I don't think it fits snugly into the self-help category. And I'm talking about Off the Lead generally, not just the solo ones, but the likes of this conversation. Like, what does this fall into? Like, is it entertainment? Is it philosophy? Is it culture? Is it... Because
well, it's great that you can't pigeonhole it as well. Like, it's not an anthem.
That is kind of
cool. It just is what it is. Like, it's just a conversation. Like, and that's, if you're having the same conversation with people all the time as well, you're not getting the point then either. Like, you should be having varied conversations with various people all the time, and not having the same sort of conversations with people, because you're not going to learn that in there either. You're not going to develop yourself, or you're not going to improve yourself. Or
it's funny though that again, this is just coming out in the wash now as we're kind of batting the ball back and forth, but none of the conversations have been remotely the same, have they?
No. Even the two with
Anthony Murphy, the same guy.
Like, yeah. And like, it's high time the likes of Beef and that come back on as well.
Big
like,
time.
I think he's going to be home in the summer again, so get him on. I know Paul will want to be on. Like, those conversations, and it'd be great for the listeners as well to go, oh yeah, I know Paul, like that'd be great to get him on again. I wonder what he's doing, how's that documentary going, or how did Beef get on in Berlin, like that, and just to get that as well, you know, that'd be great. But
there's a cool thing about the idea of, let's say, Beef and Paul coming on the second time. When they come, they'll kind of sit down, and I would imagine they'll be kind of leaning forward a little bit more, going, you know, you going to hit record yet or what? As opposed to the first time when it was all a bit kind of awkward, you know. Because even having you here, it's been refreshing for me, because like you've been in that seat fucking 100 times before, like. Talking all sorts of fucking crazy shit that wasn't
we've
recorded.
solved all world's problems in this place
10 times fucking over. But that's been refreshing for me, because for the most part when somebody comes on, irrespective of what they might sound like on the recording, they're all kind of shitting it a little, because they don't know, and it's all a bit weird, and even the setup in here is weird. I'd love to see where we're sitting now, this little kind of quote unquote studio that I've built. I'd love to see it with fresh eyes. I'd love to walk in the door and have never seen it before. Like, what the fuck would you think it was at all? Like, the way it's dug out into the ground, and it's gravel, and it's
the TV
the TV and the cables and the lights, and it's all a bit kind of weird. Like, it's you know, it's hard to get. It's what's that saying? Me that loves me little sayings. You don't get a second chance at a. Or was it? You
at
don't
a first impression.
That's the
one,
isn't it? Yeah, you don't get a second chance at a first impression. But it's mad now, and I'm looking forward to getting whatever the next round will be of solo episodes, because I think doing almost like a motivational album, 10 5-minute solo podcasts that have been, you know, produced, and a lot of thought has gone into it, and you know, there's a real start, middle, and an end. And doing that with motivations there, and then doing another one, maybe fucking do a series of poems or fucking raps or something, anything.
Don't neglect the conversations though.
Like, the guests. No attention. No, that's where the real learning is, anyways.
Right.
You need that back and forth. You can't have one without the other.
Like the solos. Like with a bit more structure, I suppose. I think they'd be with a topic in mind and just covering. It might take you 5 or 6 1 hours to, you know, do a good motivational
20 minutes,
whatever it is. And you know, that'll be great. But the conversations, I think, are where people get the most kind of meaning from, and just listening to people have conversations is huge, like, you know. And the solo ones, I know, like, even from listening to like Sam Harris's ones, like a lot of his solo ones are okay as well, but I much prefer his conversations with people, like, you know. And
does he do solo ones?
He does a few, Well, he mightn't do a full one. It might be the start of, you know, the way he kind of introduces someone. He might talk for a good half an hour.
It'd be half an hour monologue, which could essentially be a solo podcast in its own right. Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Which do you prefer? Which do you get the most out of the conversations?
But that was a tentative it's just because I found the solo ones to be so beneficial. Like, it's been mad.
They've really put you out of your comfort zone.
Big time. Big time. And even not just recording them, but learning from the ones that didn't go live because of something that I said, or one thing that it's made me acutely aware of is my mood on a day-to-day basis. Just my general awareness of what kind of humour I'm in, because like herself might say to me, you know, did you do a solo podcast today? And I kind of look at her as if to say, are you fucking for real? You know, today. You expected me to do one today. And, you know, when, you know, your blood pressure is through the roof and you've just been stressed. But it's not until she says it that you kind of go, oh, yeah, there's no way I could have done one today. Or yesterday, for that matter. Do you know what? I haven't done one in the last week for a fucking good reason, because I've been stressed out of my head. And it's not until that you have something like that you kind of... because we're not really aware of our mood on a minute by minute basis. You're particularly good, I think. I think you're well above average on being aware of what your humor is. I was
just going to say, like, that's mindfulness, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Into a box, like, but I try and be aware of how I'm feeling all the time, like, you know, and I know the difference between elation and happiness and in between all there as well, like, so if I'm not feeling great, I'll just sit down for 10 minutes and go, right, what the fuck? How come I'm not feeling great? And then I'll be like, okay, I haven't gone out on the bike for a week, or I haven't run for a week, or I'm working too hard, or I'm thinking too much about this, and just kind of knowing, okay, I can pull back from that, or sort that out, whatever I'm thinking about, sort that out and put it away, and kind of go, right, is that worth the time that I'm thinking about it, or is it not, and kind of try and box it off. But the knowing where you kind of sit on the scale of happiness nearly, you know, to kind of to
know where you are,
to know
like
that there
not
is a scale
or
like,
something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you know, replace happiness with, you know, I don't know, fucking
sadness
or fulfillment,
or whatever,
or fucking whatever.
Like,
because
Jesus, it's been a long winter, and I had 3 weeks in Australia, so my winter's been broken up. But fuck me, it was a hard winter there for everybody. Just so dark, so cold, so
fucking
miserable.
still is.
It's a lot better
Oh,
the last
course,
couple of weeks,
yeah.
but and you can see like the leaves are coming on the trees, evenings are a lot longer, people are out walking, everyone's so much and we kind of forget how far north we are. Big here time, that we get like the winter is a hard time here, and we're nearly expected to go through the winter the same as you do the summer, and expected to be the same, and expected to, you know, have the same sort of level of happiness. Like, I remember actually it was just end of last summer, I think it was, and I was feeling shitty, and I was like, I couldn't really understand why, like, and I wasn't thinking enough about it. And then a song came on that was really big in the summer, and I was like, oh no way, remember that song? And I was thinking about the summer then. I was like, fuck, that was a great summer weather-wise, and everything was just great. Like, and then I looked outside and it was pissing rain, it was dark, it was dreary. I think it was coming into October, so it was an early winter, and like what had a huge effect on everyone's kind of personality and how they were feeling from a day-to-day basis is the weather and the brightness and the darkness of the days. Like, it's huge. But if you know that, it's not so bad. It's like, why am I feeling so bad? Like, it's been really shitty now the last few months. I don't know why it is. But if you can go, oh yeah, mate, it's the weather. Look, sure, everything's dark outside, and it's not nice to go out, and I haven't walked my dog in a week because it's pissing rain every morning, and I know I love doing that and she loves that, and stuff like that. Like, if the weather gets in the way and you kind of know that, it makes it a bit easier to kind of know why you're not feeling great or why you are feeling good, you know. Oh
no, big time. You see it in just day-to-day encounters that you might have with people in shops. You know, you'll get more of a all right from your man behind the counter if it's sunny outside. Yeah, you know, that kind of way. There's a massive difference. And we said at the outset, I think, of this conversation, that Irish people have become very, very Western, very mini American, say.
Yeah.
And I think that when we're in the depths of winter in Ireland, we're watching American programs and we're seeing the sunshine, and the lights just went out.
Does that mean your electricity's gone?
I think the power just went, yeah. But we're okay here because we're on the
battery there.
We're on the battery, the laptop.
We have beautiful candles.
We do. We have the scented cameras. We have the scented candles because, for those of you listening that don't know, I don't have a sense of smell, and this tunnel that we're in is a little bit too close to my septic tank for me to just assume that it doesn't smell bad. So I have a big extractor fan and a load of candles in here pretty much all the time. But yeah,
it just got really windy and rainy outside, so the electricity might have gone.
Yeah, it's a strange one, but
that won't stop us, bro. They won't stop us. They're trying to cut us off.
They are. You'll never stop me. You'll never take me alive. Pry this mic off my cold, dead fingers. But it's bad because you were just literally talking about the weather when the power went.
And the Western countries and following America, maybe.
Yeah.
CIA
Trump
are onto us now.
Yeah, exactly. They're fucking earwigging our conversations. But yeah, I think a big part of why we forget how far north we are is because we don't live in Ireland, really. We live in America.
Yeah, we do watch too much American TV.
Far too much, and even the news and just everything's kind of America-centric. And, you know, a lot of the people that you see on telly are American, so they either have a tan or they're famous and are on telly, so they're make-upped up and all the rest of it. And I don't know, it's just...
Even like stuff that's set in like California or Hollywood, like there's 20 degrees there every day, like in the height of the winter, like, so it looks great, and everyone there is really happy because the weather's really happy. So you're kind of going, why they're happy all the time and I'm feeling shitty all the time, and you know why is that? Like, and you know, you kind of look outside and you're like, you know, you're living in Ireland, man. It's a totally different place and a different hemisphere and different everything. Like, you know, it's just
because we don't really prepare for the winter either.
No, and we used to.
But we would have. Of course we would have, because we lived in Ireland.
Yeah.
But now I think we live in America a little.
We've had some very mild winters as well. Like, I remember, like, because obviously the weather affects our business massively. So I remember
both our businesses.
Yeah. The winter before last, I remember it was very, very mild, still into late November. And then I remember Paddy's Day was sunny and people were out drinking, and it was a short kind of winter. It was only a few months, and the weather kind of got a bit brighter and better from then on. But since early October last year, and what would it be now? We're kind of coming into, we're May now, so it's only getting a little bit better now. That's a long winter. Like, that's a long time to, you know, like, not have prepared for it. And like, Jesus Christ, how many storms have we had, and snowstorms and all sorts, like, you know, and we just haven't had the I think from next year people might be a bit more prepared for it and prepared for a bad winter. But I think mentally you have to prepare for winter, you know, or else you'll
mentally you have to kind of in your mind you have to pile up a big pile of sticks. Like, you know, you have to chop the wood and pile the sticks and clean the chimney, and
because you physically don't need to do that anymore. So I think you have, your mind has to do that. And like, we've kind of done, we've spoke about it before, you kind of have to find hardship as well to kind of to know when it's good as well. Like, so we've often gone camping and, you know, fishing for a night, and you'd be just out under the stars, but being prepared for all sorts of weathers there, that's what makes it kind of doable then, you know.
Yeah, and not even know, like the last time we went, what was the
Storm Brian?
Orange warning, was it an orange warning? Up and down
wind
the
and rain warning, and we were up on the top of a mountain up in between three forests we managed to find.
But the cool thing about that excursion was we didn't even know where we were going, and we pretty much got completely lost
immediately.
I mean, yes, absolutely. We nearly died, you know, 200 yards away from my van, like. But the cool thing about that was, and the kind of the sleeping semi-rough, like, you're in a tent, but you're on a tent on the ground, and there's the fuck. Whoa, that's bright in here. Fuck me. The lights are back. But
in a tent, in a sleeping bag on the ground, like, you know.
Yeah, exactly. So you appreciate your fucking king size bed when you come home, and, you know, you open the fridge,
when you get home,
shower, class, like. Yeah. Like, even when we were building this place, or doing it up, say that I did up my house and moved in with my mum, and we moved back when all the building was finished and that. But we moved in before it was kind of ready, so we had this the electric shower in here. It's a shitty electric shower, like most electric showers, and we were using that for like a month or two before the kind of the power shower was up and running. But even now, like, that was over a year ago, even now I get into the power shower and I'm kind of reminded of how shit the other one is, and you need that, like, and I think these days.
But I don't think we do that for the winter now. So everyone loves the summer, like, and I love the summer, like, it's just, I've named my first girl Summer, like, because it is the best time of year for me. Everything comes to life, like, you know, and everything, so life is everywhere then, all around you, like, and then all of a sudden then, and sometimes it is all of a sudden, winter's here and we haven't prepared for it at all, like, you know. So if you haven't prepared for it, you're kind of nearly hoping that it's going to get better soon again, and then it doesn't, and then there's another 3 months into it and you're like, oh no, it's going to be a good couple of months now, it's going to be sunshine, it's going to be weather, it's going to be good, and it doesn't come. So if you haven't prepared for it, I think you're both mentally and physically not ready for the winter. It's going to take its toll on you
big time.
So I think we need to, and it's hard for us as well in Ireland because there aren't generally drastic changes between our seasons, so you don't really know when the winter summer is ending and the winter's beginning, so sometimes you can't prepare for it. But if you can say batten down the hatches or do the gathering the sticks for the fire and all that sort of stuff, if you can prepare for the winter, I think people will be ready to take it on a bit better, you know.
No, absolutely, and as you so rightly put, even if battening down the hatches and chopping up the wood and getting the coal in, even if that's just in your head, do you know, that kind of way, just mentally kind of preparing yourself, because I think what happens is we don't do that, we suffer in the consequence, we get a bad summer,
Yeah.
And then it's almost like you're in a fucking perpetual winter.
Yeah.
But all the time you're looking at the telly and it's a perpetual summertime on the telly.
Yeah.
And like we don't even have winter clothes for the most
No,
part.
no, and the people get sick then, and everyone has been sick this year for long times. Like usually you'd have a cold for a week or whatever. People are having it now for a couple of 5 or 6 weeks, and it goes, and then people are getting it now again because we had some good weather and it's gone shitty again. So yeah, the weather hugely influences people's psyche here massively.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. But in relation to the podcast again, because I'm keen to kind of, I don't know, it's a weird one. There's 101 million different things that I want to talk to you about, and the reason I keep bringing it back to the podcast is because you're the first guest that I've had on that has listened to them all. So you're the first person that I can really kind of talk to about it, and you were there from well before the start. One thing that I'm keen to stop doing or do more of, depending on what way you look at it, is I'm loving this because I'm loving this one with you because this is what I would call a conversation.
Yeah.
I haven't interviewed you. I haven't.
Oh yeah, and it's flowed in different tangents, and
we've spoken about 101 different things.
normal conversations go. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think I'm going to follow, not intentionally, but I think I have already, and I intend to continue to follow Joe Rogan's example. I think that's why he doesn't get on celebrities as such, because he could get his pick of anyone, really.
Yeah, but he'd end up interviewing them, and he doesn't want to do that. And if he doesn't want to interview people, so he's not going to get someone on that he has to interview. He's got a couple on who must have thought it was going to be an interview, and initially would have started off as an interview, and then after a while he's really good at bringing it into a conversation. That one that you've listened to a good few times and kind of brought it up, Guy Ritchie.
Yes.
That kind of started off as a bit of an interview,
going on about his movie and whatever else,
and then they parked that, and then the real kind of conversation happened,
because it's funny, because we were saying about getting the likes of Beef and Paul and that any of the past guests on again. I think the people that I've interviewed, if I got them on the second time, there wouldn't be an interview, because you've had them on already, they've been on, they've told their story. Now we can have the conversation.
True.
In a sense, you have to interview certain people before you can have a conversation with them, especially if you don't fucking know them. If I don't know them and the people listening, don't know them.
I suppose you need to know what their interests are, what they're doing, what their kind thoughts
of shtick
are.
is. That's another thing I think that people would benefit from, either coming onto this platform or even just having a conversation with their fucking mates. It's to find out what they're like. Do you know that kind of way? To find out what their views are on different things. Because I think that's the abortion referendum has been brilliant, and so was the equality referendum. They have people kind of thinking politically in a sense.
Yeah, it has provoked conversations.
It has,
and
really
debates,
has.
And people will give their views and on whatever it is, and that in itself is a good thing.
Because I think a lot of people, if you ask them, what's your view on gun control, because it doesn't really affect us here, they're probably going to go out. For the most part, they're going to say, "Oh, I don't really have one." But when you start kind of poking and digging a little bit deeper, they do have an opinion. And everyone has an opinion on everything.
Oh yeah.
Whether they realise it or not.
Yeah. But you don't want to do that. So if you're just meeting someone for the first time, you don't want to start digging at them, saying, "What's your thing?" So you kind of get the interview done, and then the next time, when you know them a bit better, you can start digging into really what their thoughts are on all topics.
Yeah, no, big time. No, absolutely. Dave, listen, we've just done over the 2-hour mark. You'll definitely be got back in again. Who's next? Or just on a kind of a final note. Well, before, do the plug for this, for the shop.
Oh yeah,
before you go.
Spun Cycle Spun Run on Facebook and on Instagram, and we're based in just outside Trim on the Navan Road, going into Trim, just behind Supermax there. So drop in. We've a good setup there, and come in and drop in for a coffee and a chat.
And if it wasn't made clear already, you run that with past guest and friend of the show, Graham Mack and Moon Spoon. Has he got that planned,
Yeah, he's a lot of stuff planned. Yeah, I won't go into too much, but I know he's an Ironman anyway in September, and he's a couple other things coming up before that. But follow the page. Come on onto the shop page. He keeps everything up to date there.
100%. Spun cycles for all your running and cycling needs.
Yes, yeah.
Dave, thanks for coming on officially, finally.
Finally, yeah. I won't leave it as long now next time.
No, we won't. We'll definitely get you back on, and we have to get your brother as well. Get on to fucking Tony. I've mentioned him a couple of times now.
Yeah.
He has to get his ass on.
Yeah.
And thanks again, bro.
Cool. No worries. Cheers.